Here we go, everybody. Big energy, Bilyeu, and welcome to the show, by the way. All right. Trump drops bombs on the Houthis, eliminates agencies, rejects pardons, and ignores the courts while deporting gang members to El Salvador. Whispers begin mounting about something called the Mar-a-Lago Accord. We look at accusations of Trump corruption as promised last week. The New York Times finally admits COVID may have come from a lab leak. Canada threatens to ban Pornhub in the U.S. A looming short squeeze is playing out in the crypto markets. And we are joined, everybody, by my beloved wife, Elizabeth Diana Bilyeu, is in the house today. What is up?
Hello, everyone.
I'm sad for your sake how much political stuff popped off over the weekend. But I fear that today is going to be pretty politically
that
heavy.
I actually don't watch anything political, you know that, except for your stuff. Because
that's so interesting.
Oh,
my bad.
Okay.
Drew's heard enough from you. Drew, by the way, is
so true.
Technical difficulties. Sorry, I found the video though.
So, Drew asked me to come and co-host today, and he's pulling questions from the community. Vaguely, he's like, "You're done,
like,
Lisa."
No, we've heard enough.
It's like in the awards when they just put the music.
Yeah, the music
on.
starts playing. Like, wait, I'm 4 syllables in. What's happening?
I thought I was muted. Sorry.
That's amazing. By the way, I think we may need more light on Drew, at least on that TV. On the monitor, he looks good, but on the TV over there, it looked like he was receding into the curtain behind.
Floating in the abyss.
Okay, so in real life, chat can see him properly. Okay, just making sure.
So I think, by the way, Sequoia, I can't see from the image, but I only know of one Sequoia, and that is Mindy Pelz's husband. Mm-hmm. So Sequoia, let me know.
I think he has shouted out Mindy, and I think that might be him or Mindy and he together in
Mindy is my favorite person in the world.
Ouch!
Well.
Damn!
Well.
Mindy, look at that shit! I've been replaced!
After my husband. Guys,
that happened fast,
you don't know who freaking Mindy Pelz is. She has saved my hormones, my health. Obviously, I don't want to derail and just take over your entire life.
This is how you avoid talking about
let me
politics.
Just jump in and
the
tell
funny
you
thing
everything
is she was chastising
about.
me before we started, saying, you guys really have to have whatever is in the headline and thumbnail. It has to be the first thing you talk about. And here she is taking us into female hormones when I'm guessing that the headline and thumbnail has something to do with politics. Trump.
So going back to politics, for anyone watching right now, guys, I don't actually follow it. I don't watch the news except for your stuff. I find it so digestible the way you talk about it. So apologies if I ask too many questions, but I don't know much. But when you say things, I'm so intrigued because you make it digestible for, I would say, your average person that doesn't follow politics. So obviously, if we got questions, Drew's going to be reading them out, but please do let me know if I ask too many questions or not.
I doubt that will be true. The great thing would be if you play the role of fighting for chat. And so if there's anything that you think isn't clear or whatever, that kind of thing goes a very long way.
All right.
What's interesting, though, is that you and I never talk politics basically ever.
Ever.
So I don't know how to take that you watch the content but never want to discuss it. It's very interesting. There's something fascinating hiding in there somewhere.
And I got a lot of pushback and hate from a lot of women for you supporting Trump.
Yes. Yeah, to the point where you were being advised to distance yourself from me on your channel. There it is, everybody. Well, let's get specific. So last week we promised that we were going to dive into the accusations that Trump is corrupt. But first, Drew, what does the headline and thumbnail say? What's going to be the first thing that we dive into? We will certainly be covering the Chris Murphy stuff, though I don't know that there's a very satisfying conclusion at this point. But where do you have us on a headline and thumbnail perspective?
Houthi attacks, an entire gang deported, and our deep dive into political corruption.
Okay. So since we mentioned the political corruption in the headline, let's dive into that just quickly first. So Chris Murphy put out, I think this was back on March 7th, put out a Twitter thread, which we should go through and listen to each of these. And then Drew will take them one at a time. And I'll give you guys my take on where we're at this point. But yeah, let's go through the thread.
Got it pulled up.
The things that have happened over the last 6 weeks are unprecedented. The president and his billionaire friends are not supposed to steal from us. They are not supposed to use their power and their access to power, their access to government levers to rig the rules to enrich themselves. That has always been wrong. It is still wrong. And we do not have to accept this. And so in the next few minutes, I want to try out an exercise.
Pause it for a second.
So what's happening right now?
Okay, so this guy went before some sort of committee or something. He's on the Senate floor. I actually don't know how these things play out, where you get these clips, if they just, because you can see that there's not a lot of people in the chamber. Anyway, he went on and he broke down like, hey, listen, I think Trump is extremely corrupt, and I'm going to walk you through the beats that prove it. So I watched this in detail. I've done some research. I won't say that I've done a super deep dive, but deep enough. I've spent a couple hours on this now looking at like, okay, where does all this lead? What does it mean? I'm going to put forward that what we're about to see in this thread is somebody who proves, I would say proves, that Trump is in an ethically horrible area, that ethically this is going to need to be cleaned up. And the one that I'll just zoom in on, which he does a good job of, is Trump, through the meme coin, if nothing else, has made it possible for people to bribe him. Now, whether people are bribing him or not, he does not in any way, shape, or form prove, in my opinion. Now, it is very much what a whole army, I hope, of investigative journalists and crypto sleuths will do to see if he is using it as a way to take bribes. But what I think he ends up showing beyond a shadow of a doubt is Trump is in an ethically grotesque area. So the bad news is that I think all of politics exists in this ethically horrific area. So one of the smoking guns that Chris Murphy is going to zoom in on here in a second, not this couple beats down, is that you can supposedly pay $5 million to get an appointment with Trump. I was personally offered an opportunity to pay, I forget how much money,
really?
to go meet with Obama.
Oh.
So now, not like a one-on-one meeting with Obama, but they do this all the time where it's like, hey, we're having an intimate dinner somewhere in rich neighborhood and you can pay X hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get a seat at the table.
Why is that bad?
Oof. Okay, so from an ethical standpoint, as the saying goes, money talks. And so when there's money in politics, you can create because humans have a desire for reciprocity, like if you're good to me, it does create an impulse to want to be good to you. So if you have given me something, my impulse is to want to give you something back. And so if you come and donate to my campaign, which obviously look at all the billionaires that have access to Trump, that are in his cabinet, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that all of them donated, but if we just look at Elon Musk, obviously. So I think everybody's goal should be to get money out of politics so that you're not legally bribing. It's legal. It is approved by the United States government, but it does feel like bribery. So if I get to pay a certain amount of money to sit down from Obama, I'm going to have an attitude of, bro, I spent X amount of dollars to be here. At a minimum, you are going to listen to me and give me your best argument as to why you're not going to do my thing. So that to me is, if Trump is doing it, and the thing you're going to see is that people are supposedly able to pay him $5 million to get a one-on-one meeting. Okay. Ethically horrible. Now, it doesn't mean that he does what they say. It doesn't mean that he slips into quid pro quo. That's the thing that you would have to prove. But that seems like such an obvious result of money in politics that literally from top to bottom, you're going to want to get away from it. Anyway, I think that what Chris Murphy really lays out well is we're in this ethically gray area. Now, he leads by saying that Trump and Elon are stealing from the American people. And I don't even think he attempts to make a case for that. But it's a good buzzword. Anyway, that's going to be, I think, where we have to start paying attention to is, where does this all go? You're going to want people to say, okay, ethically horrible, but sort of universally done. But is Trump crossing a line where this is actually being used in the ways that it could be used? Okay.
The thing that I don't get, can I just ask one question?
Please, of course.
Isn't it more about Trump in and of himself than it is the act? Because let me tell you, if, let's say, Hillary Clinton was president and I had the chance to sit down with her at dinner, I may take that chance, that opportunity, I should say. So, but it wouldn't be nefarious. It wouldn't have been bad. It would have been like, I just would love to be in proximity to Hillary Clinton and ask her questions. I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem bad. I can't imagine people would have a heart attack if I did that. So isn't that based on the person paying and then the president in power?
Yes, and that's why I say this is an ethically horrible area, because you put yourself in a position where it's all too easy for that to happen. But I think the focus of this stuff is going to be at this stage in what we know. It's more about the ethics of the situation. Over time, we may realize, no, it really is corruption, and he really is taking bribes, and it really is playing out in the most nefarious and horrible way. We'll see. But right now, this is when you create a situation where it looks like impropriety, that's already bad enough. And you're putting yourself in a position to be morally compromised. Not everybody will be. And I don't know that there's any way to not have any of this, because you're going to, like, at an international level, you want to have allies. And you're going to do things for allies that you wouldn't do for your enemies. You're going to look away from things you might not otherwise look away from, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no way, without removing the humanity of it all, the messiness of humanity, there's no way to completely clean all of this up. But we really do. It feels to me like we are accelerating by pushing the Overton window of what is acceptable. As far as we are normalizing some pretty horrific shit. Now, some of this may be just that I have started paying attention to it, and maybe it's always been this bad, or it's been this bad for 30, 40 years. I don't know is the honest answer. But now that I'm looking at it, it feels gross. All right, let's go back to Mr. Murphy here.
I want to try to lay out for you as quickly as I can just some of the most significant instances of blatantly corrupt activity that's happened in just the first 6 weeks of Trump's presidency. When you see it all together, there is no way to avoid a simple conclusion. This White House is on its way to being the most corrupt in the history of the country. And just because they are doing it out in the open for everybody to see doesn't mean that it's not corrupt.
Okay, so one, Drew, please keep your finger on the pulse of what Chad is saying, because this is one where I want to go point by point, whether if people see a blind spot to something, the way that I'm thinking about something. Okay, so again, he puts forward that this, at first he says they're stealing from the American people. Again, as we go through this, I don't think we're, from memory, he does not at any point touch on anything that I would say, no, that actively is stealing from the American people. But when he says they are on the path to, that I think gets a lot closer to what's really going on. And I would say more like they're creating a framework in which any politician, like they're normalizing shit that I think is crazy. But money in politics is crazy. So yeah, this gets tough. All right. Chat, see any blind spots so far?
So far, so good. Tiff Mala has commented, if the 5 million ask is legit, there's no questioning the corruption. I can understand a certain cap on an amount, but 5 million, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, to me, it's not about the amount of money. It is about the fact that while someone is in office, that they do this stuff. It's bananas to me. But this is legal again. And the funny thing is, when the original pitch to me was made to go to the Obama dinner, it didn't trigger any alarm bells. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not going to because I'm not politically active, but I was like, oh, word.
So it only triggered it now?
Well, it started as I started looking at how we run campaigns. I was like, this is nuts.
So sorry, if Obama does it, why do people have a problem with Trump doing it?
This is my whole thing, is that this guy, to me, largely, Chris Murphy, for some reason, I've got to keep saying his name because I don't know why. I keep blanking on it. Chris Murphy, in my opinion, is making the case that Trump is simply distilling down all of the horrible things that are currently present in politics and doing them better and more aggressively than people have done them historically. And one of my ethical concerns, and I don't know what to do with this, is that a big part of my beef is that people aren't pretending anymore. But I don't want people to pretend. But when they stop pretending, it feels weird. So I'm like glitching out in my own brain of like, there's something about, we're living in an era where velocity and volume of information made available by social media is the greatest thing ever because it's a level of transparency. And now that I'm being forced to look at the architecture of the human mind and the things that we will do in the political sphere, I am so grossed out and see no solution that I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do with this. And I have this weird emotional impulse, which I am overriding, but I have this weird emotional impulse to just want them to lie to me again. It is really weird. So again, James Burnham, reading that book, I realized that the inevitable reality of man as political animal is that they will lie, spin, cheat, probably steal. I have a weird reason for wanting to hesitate there that I don't yet understand. But they will do all of those things in order to gain and maintain power. Like that's what political animals do. So it does not matter what side of the aisle that you're on. And I think the hard reality is, thank you for letting me journal out loud. I think the hard reality is that to get and maintain power, there is a thing you have to do behind the scenes. Like I think about this a lot. What is my weakness as a business leader? What is my weakness as an on-air personality? It's that I don't have a network of people. People think because I meet somebody, that they're in my network, but they don't understand that I'm absolutely horrific at managing relationships. You laugh because you know how true it is. And part of it is I've been talking about Chris Murphy nonstop for 3 days and I can't fucking remember his name. So that's part of the problem.
Hi, I'm Lisa, your wife.
Well, you know, I have said many times, the last thing somebody wants to do is think that I will remember them if they betray me or something like that. They will just fade from my memory. So anyway.
I got one more for you.
Okay, let me finish this thought and then we will move on. So when I think about what it takes to get into power and maintain power, there is like this backroom networking, building alliances that has to be done. When I got invited to Mar-a-Lago and went and felt completely alone in the room, I suddenly was like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be on a team, because I could see all of them like reinforcing belief systems. And I was legitimately, in fact, you and I didn't talk much about this. I was legitimately afraid of the one question that would immediately out me as not belonging. Do you have any kids?
Oh,
when I tell you,
that
baby, in 5 to 10 years, that is going to gain so much steam that, anyway, put a pin in that. So when I was there, I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like to be on a team. This is why people will pretend they don't see something bad. And I can't remember if I was saying this to chat. I will ignore bad things in your personality because you're my wife. And I will pretend that they aren't problematic, as I expect you to do for me. And that's part of the joy of being in a marriage. Now, if that's part of the architecture of the human mind, if that is true of the political animal, if it is necessary to build alliances, and if alliances necessarily mean, bro, we're on a team, so you're going to have to ignore some of my foibles and like go to bat for me. Otherwise, this just turns into chaos. And whatever team does galvanize, does stick to a message, does act like a team in the way that I just defined it, they will get in power and they will maintain power. And so you realize, fuck, to win, we have to argue privately, but be a united front publicly. And so then I'm like, God damn, like we're in this moment where we're pulling all of this stuff into the light, and it breaks some of the realities of how you acquire and maintain power.
But you think that that's bad?
I'm sketching out
because
it is.
Well, think of it like this. Someone may see from the outside, oh, you and Tom have a perfect relationship. But actually the power is in, it's not perfect. It's all the ups and downs that we have to navigate that makes our relationship worth it. So why does that not reflect the same, let's say, in politics, where it's like the reality is X, Y, and Z, but that's what makes it.
Can I use another analogy? And then I promise, Drew, we will come to the person who has a question. Here's the right analogy. I have watched an alligator and a lion fight over who gets to kill and eat a baby wildebeest, actually playing tug of war with it. Now, I felt the way you feel right now. But the reality is this morning, I ate the flesh of other animals who were raised and murdered so that I could survive.
I don't want to hear that.
I understand that. But this is what I'm saying. It is true. All of that is true. But I have to create a frame of reference that allows me to go, to live, I have to eat something. And given that plants communicate and do all of this like intricate below the ground like stuff, and they try to kill or disorient other creatures and stop them from eating them, I'm going to guess eventually we're going to find out even plants, like you're fucking them up, you're enslaving them, and all the same things we think about animals right now, we're going to end up thinking about plants. But we got to eat to survive. And so it just is fucking real. And I'll make one more pitch until everyone in the community has read it. Please read Red Famine and Tombstone. People cannibalize other people. They will eat their own children if they get hungry enough. That is the reality. So anyway, I'm going to put a period there because I can feel I will fractal the entire episode around ethics and shit. Drew, somebody wanted to say something.
Aaron Eileen J608 said, how is any of this helping the average American, though? None of what he's doing is making things better for anyone but the already super rich.
Is this Trump?
This is going to the Trump $5 million to get a one-on-one with the president. If you don't have that money to pay, you won't be able to help. That's their logic.
I will make an argument that, of course, somebody could clip out of context, but when they zoom out and play this, I am simply making the argument for what somebody would say to that was steel manning that side. I, Trump, need to surround myself with the best and the brightest in order to hear the best ideas. One of the ways that I filter that out is by putting a gigantic tranche that people have to overcome. And that tranche is financial contribution to my political campaign, to me or just Republicans in general, because he's not going to pocket the money personally. Like you could point to that and just be like, obvious corruption. So he's not going to do that. And just like the Obama thing, PS, by the way, would go to his campaign. It's a campaign contribution. I think we'd have to look into this shit. It's going to be something like that. Homeboy is not putting it in his bank account. That much I will tell you. And money is a proxy for success, for value, for them understanding the marketplace. And so those are the people that I want to understand. So not only is it going to help the Republicans stay in power, it's also going to give me a filtering mechanism by which of the 350 million people that exist in America, how do I know who to listen to when? And he's not wrong about that. And same with doing the green card. You can pay $5 million for a green card. I love it the most. Get as much money from wealthy people around the world as you can, as long as it's going to America, not to the politician. So we won't derail on that, but noted that you think that's horrible. Is that everything from the community? If so, I will let Lisa explain.
Yes, but we have a quick word from our sponsor. We have to thank our sponsors. Without them, this show wouldn't be possible. And we have one coming up from our friends at the Tax Network.
Let's go.
And then stay tuned for my opinion.
And come on back. It's a spicy opinion. I had to cut her off.
Are we going to play an ad?
Yes. I pulled it up on my screen, but I can't see it. I'm looking at G's.
Yeah, it's like hiding behind.
Oh, is it behind this thing?
We'll get better, everybody. Don't you worry.
There. We're getting there.
Here, hold on. It's on my screen.
Yep, it's on yours.
I'll pass it to you. There it is.
It's a case of the Mondays, guys. It's a case of the Mondays.
Love your spirit, Drew.
All right.
Forced to stare at myself is a unique ring of hell.
We'll get back to the show in a moment, but first, let's talk about the one opponent you should never face alone. The IRS isn't just any adversary. It's a $13 billion machine designed specifically to extract money from you. Now, if this sounds familiar, I want you to know you don't have to face it alone. Instead, get Tax Network USA in your corner immediately. Tax Network USA has established preferred channels directly into the IRS. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they have strategies engineered to get you the best possible outcome. And don't worry, the consultation is completely free. Stop looking over your shoulder right now and put your IRS troubles behind you. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/impact. Again, that's 1-800-958-1000 or head to tnusa.com/impact. This is a paid advertisement. And now back to the show.
All right. The second I can get everybody to work for me for free, I will stop running ads just because I'll preempt the screams about that. All right, Drew, we on to Lisa here? Or did you have?
Yes. No, Lisa. Everybody do your taxes. Now, Lisa's spicy take.
All right, so just my take on what you were saying, that if you're very okay with people paying $5 million to get a green card.
Green card. Says a green card holder who's like, what are they called again? Yeah.
Well, so my family's from Cyprus. At one point when we entered the EU, Cyprus were giving people the ability that, hey, if you come and spend over $1 million in our country on property, we'll automatically give you a visa, which means that you're automatically part of the EU. So you had an influx of Chinese and Russian people coming into Cyprus, buying up all the property, wealthy, buying it all up. Everyone's getting visas. And then you have someone like my cousins, where it's a 9 to 5. They grew up in Cyprus, their whole family, they've lived there all their lives. They can't even afford to buy property now because the prices have been raised so much. So I want to push back a little that that's actually good for the country in a circumstance like Cyprus, where it ended up being bad for a lot of people in the country.
Okay, so I'll answer this quickly because I want to get back to our boy Chris Murphy, but just because somebody does a policy poorly does not mean that the concept is a bad concept. So every country is battling to get the citizens of the world to come to their country. The birth rates across the globe are absolute trash. And so everybody, the battle is only going to intensify, and everybody's going to use economic policies. In fact, Bukele in El Salvador is doing this really pro AI stuff as a way to compete for AI entrepreneurs to get them to come to his country. Everybody's going to be doing this. So yeah, going after the housing market might have been stupid, but you do want to ask, why did they do that in the first place? There might have been a reason. So your cousins could have been economically depressed to the point where they already couldn't afford a home and now it just feels more out of reach, but the government is trying to at least address the problem by getting foreign investments, or they could have just done it poorly. I don't know. I'd have to look a lot more closely, but getting the wealthy people of the world to come and invest in your country, or even forget wealthy, getting smart people from around the world who are on the value side of your country, you want to get them in your country. Okay. All right.
I got a negative comment, and Tom told me before we started rolling that if I see anything negative, to read it out. You guys okay with it? All right. Let me get this a little closer. So this is from Tomoni.
We need better glasses, apparently.
Yeah, I know. I love Tom, but he's losing me with this new self-indulgent orientation. When did we go from him interviewing the best in class to hear their thoughts to having just his wife interview him? Weird.
Okay. So fair enough. If you are not enjoying the new content, you are welcome to move on. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that exactly. So if the ideas that I have do not add value to your life, then you should 100% peace out. We still do interviews, but it is not the primary focus of the channel anymore. So on Tuesdays, we're dropping interviews still. And then the rest of the time is going to be you and me, chat. So yeah, it is what it is. But I would not expect anybody to stick around that doesn't think that the ideas that I have are adding value.
And just for the record, as your business partner, not as your wife, I think you are amazing. And I think this type of content is exactly what the world needs when everyone's being so bifurcated for being one extreme to the other. You are a voice that I think is bringing reason to issues that are arising.
That's very kind. As my wife, you
that was your business partner. That was not as your wife.
But
just for the record.
Hold on. The thing that I actually want to drill into very briefly, and then we'll get back to our Twitter thread, is remember all of the people that are guests on my show, they are in the same situation that I'm in. They're just on somebody else's show being lent credibility because I'm saying, hey, this is somebody that you should pay attention to. And so the thing that you object to is either you just don't like my ideas, which fair enough, or B, that there's nobody handing me credibility and saying this person has anything good to say. And so I get it. There is a thing about podcasts that says, ooh, if this person's being interviewed, they must have vetted them. There must really be something here. But we all live in the marketplace of ideas. And part of the reason that we moved on was the show was so beholden to guests that it was hard just to, we would get an episode that would do, let's say, 3 million views, and the next one would do 36,000. And so you look at that and you go, oh, this is because I have not established myself as the reason that people show up to my own channel. And because things have changed so much in the podcasting world where the best guests all have their own channel, it was getting harder and harder to get them to come on the show because they already have an outlet for their ideas. So I was like, cool, let's do the reverse, where now I'm just going to go on my own channel and talk about my own ideas instead of either trying to go out to other shows or constantly trying to chase a guest. And now we will live and die by my ability to add value to people's lives. And I'm perfectly happy to live and die by that. If I can't, then hey, it will all go away. And that is perfectly fine with me. Okay, back to Chris Murphy.
Now we are on part 2 of his corruption deep dive. This is about the Trump crypto coin scam.
We're going to start on January 17th. On January 17th, Trump launches the meme coin. This is maybe the most corrupt of all the acts, because what is the meme coin? The meme coin is essentially a mechanism by which Russian oligarchs or corporate CEOs can literally send money privately directly to Donald Trump. Nobody knows who buys the meme coin, but Trump makes money when people buy it.
Pause it.
And so it is just...
Yeah. This one's gross. This one is super gross. And this sets, now again, nobody that I have seen has done the deep dive on the forensics of Bitcoin to figure out if people are actually using it in the way that he's talking about, but they could. And the odds that they do it are very high. And Trump absolutely, if the price goes up, Trump will benefit from it. Now, just because people buy it doesn't mean that the price is necessarily going to go up. This is this is a sentiment game. If people think that the sentiment is strong enough, then the price will go up. If people don't think the sentiment is strong enough, it will go down. But if enough people, enough oligarchs, as he says, but it doesn't matter, it could be anybody. If enough people, which by the way, oligarch simply means ruled by the few. Technically, there's a plutarch is somebody who is the few and wealthy. Anyway, so if people are throwing money at Trump via the meme coin, and it drives the price up because people think, oh, more people are going to try to curry favor with Trump by buying the meme coin, then they will start buying the meme coin, believing that it's going to go up, and Trump will be able to sell the meme coin. But as Trump sells, it will drive the price down. Anyway, it is an imperfect way of taking bribes, but fuck, it is a greased chute for somebody that wants to take bribes. It's terrible, and I hope we pass legislation against it. I think, what would you have to do? You'd have to divest. Anyway, I'm knowing that this is far more complicated than I'm going to make it sound in the next 20 seconds, I'm going to say it. I hope that we pass legislation that forces people, if you're going to run for any meaningful office, that you have to divest of a meme coin like that is specifically tied to you. It is nasty.
Why would he have opened himself up to such criticism to something like that?
I mean, the easy answer is because he fucking wants to bribe people, or he wants people to bribe him. Excuse me. I mean, that is the most obvious answer on fucking planet Earth. Now, he swears like, oh, I didn't really know. I wasn't really paying attention. It's just a collectible. And it's like, yes, if you're not the president. Here's the thing. Meme coins are allowing people to gamble on culture. You should let people gamble on culture. I don't have any beef with that. People should be able to spend their money on whatever the fuck they want. And I get furiously angry when I go to the bank. If you want to see me become a psychopath, when I go to the bank and people are like, what are you going to spend your money on? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, somebody is confused. I am literally instant red. I peg out. That is the most absurd thing to me. Holy shit. I am letting you hold my money. It is my fucking money. You are very confused right now. So people should be able to do with their money literally any legal thing they want to do, they should be able to do. And the fact that people try to make gambling illegal is crazy to me. If somebody wants to bet on the fact it might rain tomorrow, if they want to bet on how long somebody's socks are going to be in a football game, I don't give a fuck. If somebody wants to bet, let them bet. It is their money. Now, having said that, if you're in political office, given that now you have weird incentives that could run contrary to the people that you are elected to serve, that I get.
Yeah, I still don't understand though, if he gets so much backlash on everything that he does, why would you deliberately open yourself up to someone then discounting everything you do?
Because you can steamroller public opinion. I mean, that is like the Trump playbook, is just when he started talking about, these poor Gazan people, we are just going to have to get them all out of Gaza, not let them be literally this. If it isn't verbatim, it's fucking close. They've suffered so much. They can't be a part of the rebuild. And I was like, what? Like that doesn't even make any sense. I was like, oh my God, this is ethnic cleansing in real time. Now, ethnic cleansing, you can kill or displace. Grab bag medley here in the Gaza Strip, as they have done both. But when Trump was just like, we got to get them all out for their own sake, these poor people, so that we can rebuild it. I was like, fucking hell. Like, apparently you can just say something casually enough and it's like all of a sudden absolutely fine. So,
Well, we unfortunately knew that when he said it's okay to grab a woman's ass.
oh, he didn't say grab an ass. He said grab a woman by the pussy. Like,
I was trying to not be crude, but yes.
I mean, he said what he said. So that's a different thing for me. But anyway, okay, so that's why the meme coin one I don't love. I think David Sachs, who I would very much like to hear comment on the Trump meme coin, but as far as I can tell, having asked multiple AIs, he has not commented on it yet. He divested all of his crypto holdings. So boy, would I have liked to see Trump do the same, but he did not. So there you have it.
Sachs was in the camp that it was a collectible. If people want to have a trading card.
Did he speak specifically to the Trump meme coin and just said meme coins are collectibles? Or, because here's what I want somebody to ask him directly. Do you think a president ethically should hold a meme coin?
He hasn't answered that, no.
Now, given that he divested himself of, in fact, here's an even better question. Dear David Sachs, given that you divested yourself of all of your crypto holdings because you knew that it could give you perverse incentives, which would look terrible and potentially actually influence your decision-making, why do you think that it makes any ethical sense for Trump to hold a meme coin? And at that point, I mean, if I were then advising David Sachs, I'd be like, whatever you do, don't answer that question. You're going to need to get around it, bro. You're going to need to say some shit like, I would just like to remind everybody that people can spend their money on whatever they want. And if people want to gamble on culture, they ought to be able to do that, and never address it because it is fucking terrible. It's just gross. So even if it is only legally a gray area, it's ethically trash. So anyway.
Can I read a comment?
Yes.
Thank you. This is from Skurbadurba. Wow.
Wow. Oh, is this Skurbadurba?
Scurby
There
Durba?
we go. Okay. Tom,
We know
you got to.
Skurbadurba well.
Oh, we do. Okay, Skurbadurba. Tom, you got to read your wife's room. She mad you voted for him, and you got to emphasize one of the reasons she's mad. SMH. What's that stand?
Shaking my head.
Shaking my head.
Oh,
yeah.
shaking my head. Thank you. None of my business. Love you guys. So
All right,
here's the
since
thing.
you're here,
Yeah.
am I misreading the room?
I'm not mad that you voted for Trump because I think you're an individual with your own mindset. And so you have the right to vote for anyone you want. We've spoken about it endlessly based on my comment that I just made of why one of the reasons I don't like Trump. As a woman, I just don't think that's okay. But we've spoken about that. And so interesting, we've had a lot of backlash where it's like, how can you be married to someone who has voted for Trump when you're a woman? And we've spoken about that. And to me, that's one part of him. But is he going to do well for the country? Is he going to do well for your everyday person? That's ultimately the thing that I really care about and focus on. And so in talking to you through the policies, through all the things that we're talking about and that you guys talk about on the show, it really allows me to understand why. Now, being part of a marriage doesn't mean that we always agree. And I think that people think that you have to always agree in order to have a successful relationship. So anyway, just wanted to kind of say that.
Yeah, facts. I'm not even sure it's Skurbadurba. Are you saying that I can only vote for people that my wife approves of? That would be crazy. Just as I would not expect my wife to vote just because I think something. She should vote if she could, but she can't. She should vote
Oh,
for
they
whoever she wants.
apologize. I misread and overstepped. No, not at all. I think that if that was the impression, then I'm glad that you asked the question. So thank you, Scurbadurba.
Also, Scurbadurba, chats are like hot take factories. So we're all for it. You can have hot takes. You've always been very considerate in the chat. So nothing but love for Scurbadurba. All right. Wait, Tom voted for Trump?
Wife should come first always. Don't vote for someone who disrespects women. I actually don't know if wife should always come first with things like that. And what I mean is that if you are always having to make decisions based on my thoughts and my feelings, the relationship won't work. You would start to resent me. You would start to not respect me, I think, because I
disagree with that. But
Interesting.
listen, you should try to convince each other when you can. You should try to be on the same page from a values perspective, but you're not always going to look at the same facts and see the same thing. So I think if Lisa, we're going to end up derailing on this and we really need to get back to Chris Murphy, but if Lisa saw any indication in me that I wanted him to be president because I thought that he was going to subjugate women or finally put them in their place, then she would freak the fuck out and leave. But given that she knows that's not my take and not what I think is going to happen and not at all what I would be interested in, there's no sort of elongated beef. So, all right, Drew, back to our boy, Mr. Murphy. Otherwise, we got so many things on the docket today.
An open sewer valve that allows for anybody who is trying to influence the Trump administration to be able to secretly funnel money to Donald Trump. He reserves 80% of the coin. He waits to release that coin until the price jumps back up again, which essentially means he's waiting for people who want favors from him to buy a bunch of the coin to inflate the value so that he releases more and makes more money. It's a disgusting kind of corruption because this is essentially Trump just posting his Venmo for anybody secretly.
That's a really good way
to wire him as much money as they want. We've never seen something like this before, where anybody who has anything to gain from the Trump administration through a manipulation of the value of Trump's meme coin can funnel money directly to the president, whisper in his ear, that was me that purchased all that coin, that jumped up the value, that allowed you to release new coin. Hey, take care of me on the back end.
Yeah, grotesque. All right, next.
Something absolutely stunning happens. Pam Bondi, the AG, issues a memorandum in which she proposes to dull the criminal enforcement of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. If you are representing a foreign government before the United States, you have to register so that we know if you are acting on behalf of American interests or you are acting on behalf of foreign interests. In the prior Trump administration, Trump officials got in big trouble for secretly working for and getting paid by foreign governments without registering. Well, what does Trump announce? That they are going to limit the applicability of the enforcement of that statute, making it much easier for Trump's friends, for his MAGA crowd, for the people who show up to Mar-a-Lago to get paid quietly by foreign governments in order to influence Donald Trump.
Okay, so my gut instinct is if you were going to steel man this, you would say there is so much back and forth legal battling that we are trying to diminish the attack vectors when it's not a real, it's not, they haven't done anything that's illegal. And yet they're going to try to position it to go after them. Now, I think that Trump is about to weaponize his own DOJ against other people, which is exactly what you see with the unpardoning of the pardons, which we will get to later. So, man, do I just wish these motherfuckers would look forward, like eyes forward, please. Like when Richard Nixon was found to have broken in to the Democratic headquarters to spy on them. It was like, okay, we got him the fuck out of office, and now we're just going to go forward. It's like you won the election, you got the mandate, you talk about it endlessly, you won the swing states. For the love of God, eyes forward, don't go backwards, don't weaponize the justice system under the guise of justice. That's exactly what they did to you. Jesus Christ. This is going to be an own goal. So this is each side doing tit for tat. You did this to us, so we're going to do it back to you. It's a death spiral, and we are going to live in said death spiral. This is one where I'd have to look a lot closer to see if there's something more nefarious going. But from what I could find quickly, the reason that this isn't getting like a ton of across the aisle support, meaning Democrats for sure, they're all going to latch onto this and run like crazy. But independents and Republicans are like, is it's legally gray? It could, maybe it's got bad intentions, or maybe it really is people just saying, look, enough with the fucking lawfare. We're going to lower this attack vector. The problem is I think they're all just weakening a system. And ultimately, when you weaken the system enough, it ends up falling. And I think both sides are doing it, and it really is fucking traumatic. This to me is whatever the left versus right version of Thucydides' trap is, where the left and the right cannot help but race away from each other in moments where the economy is weak, and they just start going away, hating each other more and more. This is how you end up in civil war. So anyway, I hate it, but this to me feels like a both sides thing.
Yeah, definitely the consensus in the chat is a lot of people saying it's corruption. It's always been this way. I knew it wouldn't last, but for a moment they had peace. So it goes back to our conversation last week, where sometimes because it's so transparent now with social media, it seems like it's a bigger, newer thing, when really people are like, well, Obama did it, and well, Bush did it, and well, Nixon did it, and we go back 6, 7, 8, 10 presidents, and we starting to realize like,
30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true, because I'll hear something just like on the headlines level, and I'll go to him, I can't believe Trump did this. And he's like, babe, Obama did it. And he just starts listening. I was like, oh, really? He goes, yeah, it's just coming out now. Yeah. So someone who doesn't follow politics as much like me, I see a headline, I'm like, I can't believe it. And I just have a certain way in that moment towards Trump. But then when I talk to you guys, and you guys are like, Lisa, so-and-so did it, Obama, who I really like, did it, and it's like, oh, that actually changes everything. But they don't say that from a news, like a headline.
And they're not going
level.
to, because position and spin is the name of the game, but both sides do it. That's the thing. This is not a defense of Trump. This is not a defense of Biden. It just is this thing. And meaning the whole James Burnham catastrophe of what politics is actually like. And any student of history is going to look back and be like, oh God, it is just a never ending string of this stuff. And how you break free from it, that I don't have a great hypothesis on. All right, next one. Got to get through these.
Maybe aside from the meme coin, the most stunning act of corruption, the Eric Adams quid pro quo, in which Eric Adams, indicted for corruption, is let off the hook. His charges are dismissed in exchange for the mayor's pledge of political loyalty to Donald Trump. They literally went on TV and announced the deal, that we're getting rid of the charges against Eric Adams as long as the mayor pledges political loyalty to the president.
The same thing. It's going to be viewed as this was lawfare and they were unjustly going after this guy. I looked up why the argument was something like he was going against immigration, I think, when Biden was president. And so they started attacking him. And so Trump's now just coming in and righting a wrong and saying, no, this guy is being unjustly accused. I honestly don't know. But that's going to be the punchline is lawfare. We're just trying to undo it. All right. Next one.
6, maybe the third most significant of brazen corruption happens. News breaks that Elon Musk is just going to have the FAA cancel a contract with Verizon.
So
that has been.
I've talked about this one before, the first time that Chris Murphy came up. So the question is, all right, Elon's in the government. He's people that want to attack him will say he's insinuated himself into the government, become Trump's right-hand man, specifically so that he could get contracts that are going to be good for his business. If he is getting contracts that he does not deserve at the level of technology, that's bad because it's bad for the American people. However, my bias is that Elon is the greatest technologist living today. Nobody can beat him. And so the fact that things like he was iced out. You want to talk about one, I'm being advised by people to stop fucking talking about Elon. I can't help myself. Because when I really think about what's good for America, this guy was iced out of, they had a whole summit about electric vehicles. He sells more electric vehicles than all the other makers combined. They didn't even invite him to the summit. It is such raging, like the Biden administration did not like Elon. They wanted to keep him the fuck out. So it is very easy to look at this and go, the odds that he got a fair shake if he built a competitive technology to Verizon is very low. Now, having all of this play out in the open so that everybody can see, yes, 100%. Is Elon in a position where Trump is going to want to go out of his way to do nice things for him? Yes. This is exactly why. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. So of course, Elon and all the other big business guys are trying to have a seat at the table so they're not on the fucking menu like they were in the Biden administration. So I get it. Do I like it? No. But this is the reality of politics. Now, I want the best technology to win. Admittedly, I have a default assumption that the things that Elon are building, those things are better than the competition, which is why, just to use one stat, this is a global stat, meaning including China, India, everybody. SpaceX launches 95% of the tonnage into space. 95%. Okay? People all over the world could pay whoever the fuck they want to launch things into space. Why do they have SpaceX do it? Because Elon's just better at this shit. So do I trust Verizon to have outdeveloped Elon? No, I do not. So I don't look at that one and go, oh, this is corruption. But he really is insinuated into the government. So there is no doubt that he's going to get things that he would not get if he were outside the government. I have a feeling that we have something special for you guys. Here we go. Let's do it, Drew.
One more special break from our sponsors. This is over at
Support the show, everybody.
Firing Cat.
Bear with us. This is how we stay in business here.
We'll get back to the show in a sec, but first, I want to talk about something that's deeply personal to me. For nearly a decade, my wife Lisa has been battling debilitating gut issues. At one point, I was actually afraid she was going to die. When Lisa's having a rough day with her gut, kettle and fire bone broth is one of the few things that not only agrees with her stomach, but actually helps her feel better again. It is incredibly nutrient dense, packed with 19 grams of protein per serving, and slow simmered for 14 hours to extract maximum benefits. Kettle and Fire is committed to creating products that heal. Their bone broth is made with grass-fed beef bones, organic free-range chicken bones, and only organic herbs and spices. Plus, it's certified glyphosate residue-free. And if you want to add an incredibly nutritious food to your diet, give Kettle and Fire Bone Broth a try. Get 20% off your first order at kettleandfire.com/impact and use code IMPACT. Again, that's kettleandfire.com/impact and use code IMPACT for 20% off your order. And now back to the show.
What I took away from that ad is my arms look tiny in that shirt.
That's so
and,
funny.
cannot wear
It
that
goes to
shirt
show
ever again.
you're focused on that. And I was like, Kettle and Fire has helped me so much. So anyone
They
out
are,
there, guys, who
admittedly.
hasn't tried it, if you like bone broth, it has saved my gut when we travel. The hack actually is I ask reception to give me a kettle. I then actually get Kettle and Fire. I put it in the room, I pour the Kettle and Fire into the kettle, I switch the kettle on and it heats up my bone broth. And so when I travel, it has been a game changer for my gut. So anyone that has digestive issues, when you travel, it can be brutal. It has been a game changer. So
Word. Okay.
We got the last
how many
one from
more
Chris Murphy?
Murphys do we have here?
One more.
Let's go.
Or I lied, two more. Haha. This one we talked about, though.
And business leaders are being targeted with advertisements that sell access to a one-on-one meeting with the President of the United States for $5 million. Come on.
Right, we talked about it.
Seriously.
Yep.
And then last one.
Afternoon. So I lay it all out for you this afternoon in the hopes that it is not too late for us to decide to stand up as a body and as a nation to say that this isn't okay. The Trump meme coin is not okay. It's not okay for people who have interest before the federal government to be able to anonymously funnel money to the President of the United States. It's not okay for Elon Musk to have access to Department of Labor enforcement data against him or his competitors that nobody else gets access to. It's not okay to just cancel contracts that were going to Musk's competitors and substitute in his own business just because he has the ability to do it as a friend of Donald Trump. Like, the rule of law matters. Doing things by the rules matter. This level of corruption was not occurring behind the scenes prior. It is not just that the cover got pulled off of it all. And it's our decision as a body and as a country to decide not to normalize this scale of corruption.
It is certainly up to all of us to decide whether we're going to.
So I lay it all out
this
for you.
kind of setup. Like, what do we want to make legal, not legal? The one I will just beg everybody to pay attention to is the meme coin. Like, that one, I just hate everything about that from top to bottom. We'll see. We'll see. It's in our hands, boys and girls, as to what we are going to say is okay and not okay. I think that we're going to have some weird times ahead with the weaponization of the Justice Department. I think that's going to get fucking weird. And so I don't expect anything that Chris Murphy just said to catch fire. If it was going to, it would have done so already, meaning across the aisle, because this stuff seems to be primarily in a gray area. And so now, as a body politic, we have to decide where we want to draw those bright lines so we can say, yes, this, no, that. We'll see, man. Every time we try to get money out of politics, both sides are like, actually, no, we're good. So this benefits both sides.
Yeah, you just echoed Ribsy's sentiment. He said, this was all kind of meme coin feels icky, but there's still no smoking gun here.
That is correct. That's the thing that I walk away from. This is why it's not catching fire. When I first heard it, because to your point about headlines can capture you and you're like, what the fuck? I was like, how is this not the most talked about thing? I knew there had to be a kill switch somewhere where there's a thing that people hit where it's like, it could be used this way, but we don't have any proof that it is. It could be that he's quid pro quoing with Eric Adams, but we don't have any evidence that he is. So there's just all this stuff of like, at the level of policy, we have to decide what we do and don't want to do as a body politic. I will give Chris Murphy that much. I will also give him that the setup here is terrible. I think that we're moving in the wrong direction. And boy, oh boy, do I wish that I could get Trump to take a very... He needs to try to reconcile the gap between the left and the right. Somebody does. We need a leader that can. I saw somebody say we need a third party. I don't think a third party is going to do it. I think this is a great man theory of history. And you need somebody like Lincoln, as he is retold to us through history. Whether he was really like that is a bigger question. You need a George Washington, as he was told to us through history. You need a Nelson Mandela, certainly as he told himself to us in his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. You need somebody that both acknowledges that there have been ghastly wrongs and injustices in the past, but that the way forward is unity and it isn't punishment. Yeah, I need to spend more time with what's going on in South Africa. I'm going to guess you haven't heard any. Oh my God. I'm only at a headline level. At a headline level, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. So we shall see. All right. Meta, that is very kind. Hell no. You don't want me as president.
I don't want you as president, but maybe being the person in between. Like, in fact, I would like, they have those debates.
Yes.
I would love to see you be the person questioning those.
No, you wouldn't.
I would.
You mean as a moderator?
As a moderator,
got it,
yeah.
Got it.
Because you won't let.
You want to see me debate.
No. You wouldn't let people get away with BS answers.
That is a very optimistic view. I would have to know both sides so well that I could stop people from giving BS answers. Anyway, I won't put myself on that stage. I think what I'm doing right now is exactly, one, I love it, and two, it suits my limitations. That is the hard truth. See, Eddie, we agree.
And I have zero interest in being first lady. I'll get ripped to shreds.
Oh, God. That does not strike me as fun.
No.
Okay. Let us move on. Chat, that was like our first big, like, we got to talk about it, come together as a community. That was a lot of fun. And so long may that continue. When there are things you want to see us cover as a community, definitely speak up. And if it gains enough traction, we will certainly go deep. Whatever is interesting, you are overly kind. Okay, so the thing that I found really interesting is what Bukele is doing from a bring people in to El Salvador by passing pro-AI laws. If you want to pull that up. So this is fascinating. I expect this to be to bother some people. All right. If you can zoom in just a smidge, that would be wonderful. A new law is making the country one of the most developer-friendly places in the world. It protects open source AI builders, guarantees IP rights, and shields devs from liability when their tech is misused. Want to train on publicly available data? Fully legal. Worried about big tech trying to lock down AI models? Not here. The law bans restrictive licensing that stifles innovation. El Salvador is officially open for AI business, and unlike the US and Europe, it's welcoming developers with open arms. So this is exactly how nation states convince people to come build in their country. Bukele has, they were one of the most violent places on earth, and he went absolutely ham to get people he went absolutely ham cleaning up the streets, getting the violent thugs in prison, showing people, hey, we're a country of the rule of law. How he did that without getting killed, I will never know. And now really being pro-crypto before the US was. When the US was being super anti-crypto, they were pro-crypto. And now that there's so much uncertainty around AI, being pro-AI, this is how you get people to come to your country. Now, these kind of things play out over decades, but it's very impressive.
All right, so give me a quick pros and cons, and then what that can look like in 10 years.
From a AI standpoint?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Also from the user standpoint, from me using it.
Using AI?
Yeah, because a lot of people, someone even put, oh, hell, I'm moving to El Salvador.
Well, if they're an AI builder, it might not be the worst advice in the world. The user only benefits. So if you can go, I want this to look like Disney, I want this to look like Pixar, and you can literally say it by name, and the AI will know exactly what you mean and give you an output that is in that style. And now you can record a video of somebody in their bedroom, walking around, acting, all of that, and then just go, give this to me, these actions in this style, and the AI will do it. It is coming so fast. It is getting so good. And you can literally use trademark names like Disney, like Pixar, like Ghibli, and it will just do it because it knows. It has trained the shit out of a Ghibli style or Disney, Pixar, so on and so forth. And the user is going to benefit tremendously. Like that is, all of us should be like secretly, whoa, like, yay. The only catch is that means that somebody could go, hey, give me an influencer in the style of Lisa Bilyeu interviewing so-and-so on the topic of, oh God, what is how am I blanking on this? Narcissist. And if you want to be able to make something that looks like Disney, then they're going to be able to do that with you.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I want them to be able to do it.
Really?
100%.
For someone that's creating IP?
Yes.
Why would you want that? That's bad for business.
It isn't, because here's what ends up happening. I don't want you to be able to market it using my name. I don't want you to be able to use my characters. So here's a fun fact. Lisa and I were sued by Oreo. This is a true story. Because they felt that we infringed on what's known as trade dress. So they claimed, how dare they, that our cookies and cream bar looked too much like Oreo.
Which you kind of did.
How dare you?
We didn't do it deliberately at all.
My wife is going to hell, everybody. And
It wasn't a great strategy.
we had to make changes. And so fair enough. If you violate somebody's trade dress, I get it. So if you make a character that looks like Mickey Mouse is a bad example because technically the Steamboat Willie version is now 100 years old. And so you actually can. But I wouldn't want them to be able to use the copyrighted thing. But if a human being could train on it, then I believe that AI should be able to train on it. So if it's publicly available, 100%,
Right.
because should it be illegal for you to learn how to draw? My wife is a world-class artist, PS, so this is not a random example. Should you be stopped from being able to draw in a Disney style?
No.
There you go. So you
But
have already answered your own question.
I guess I couldn't then take it to running an entire business that looks and feels like Disney, and it's not Disney.
Well, you can and should be able to. Look at Skydance, which now makes,
Skydance?
oh God, Drew, please just fact check me. There was a gentleman whose name I'm forgetting, though I can picture him clear as day, who got Me Too'd out of Pixar. And he was Pixar, like the absolute fucking heartbeat of Pixar.
This.
And he got Me Too'd, fired, and he went to a new company, I believe it's Skydance, and they now look like Pixar, as you would expect. Should they be able to stop him?
Well, looking like Pixar, no, but using the characters of Pixar.
Agreed. That's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
got
Like, you should
understood.
not be able to use Mickey Mouse.
Right,
However,
right.
you should
Oh.
be able to draw in the Disney
Yeah.
style.
That's like saying let's take
This is what
YouTube.
he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
The very
That
thing
makes
you
sense.
said we shouldn't be able to do is
Okay,
train
I
on that stuff.
misunderstood. I thought you could train it, go out and then put out like animations of
Nope, you shouldn't be able to
Mickey
violate
Mouse.
copyright.
Got it, understood. Yeah, I mean, there's literally, think about YouTube. Everyone looks at what other people are doing. You're like, oh, that works. Like, look at thumbnails. Everyone's copying Diary of a CEO, and so that people can think that it's him instead of another
Stupid
channel.
strategy, but yes.
But it isn't, because now someone accidentally clicks on it. They think it's Diary of a CEO. They click on it. That person gets the view.
Only if they end up watching it. But if they're like,
Correct.
this wasn't Diary of a CEO,
Correct.
and they bounce out, now
Yeah.
it's going to be a black mark on your channel.
Yeah, so I thought you were saying people can pretend, they can make animation just like Disney. They can use the
You
IP
should
of
never,
Disney.
what I'm proposing is, you should never be able to use any IP that's protected by copyright.
Understood.
But Disney oftentimes uses open source, or not open source, but public domain. So they didn't write Snow White.
Yeah.
Snow White was public domain. So it's one of those, if I can make my story in an animation style like Disney, which I believe you should be able to, and I can use the same open source stories that they're using, I keep calling it open source, public domain, like Snow White, now what? So this is where I want to see companies create their own IP and say, you cannot steal my IP. So you can't do Kung Fu Panda, but you can do something in the style of Kung Fu Panda. I think you should be able to, because all of us are standing on the shoulders of giants. So anything that I put out publicly, if somebody wants to train an AI on the way that I think, they should be able to. They should not be able to make it look like me, and they should not be able to bill it as me. Those things I would say should be protected. But all of us win when we can go in and train and learn from other people. So again, still copyrightable things should be copyright protected. Also, I think that creating something with AI, you should be able to copyright it, but it should be like very specific things, so that people can't just like rip it off. Because getting people's attention on something is hard. Plus, and I would be very open to, you would need to submit the prompt so that you could track like what part of this was human made, so that you couldn't just turn an AI on in the background that generates things so fastly that trademarks everything. So you basically go to somebody and say, no, I already did that. You'd want to protect against that. But yeah, I think that using AI should not invalidate a copyright.
So actually, now thinking about it, also Costco kind of does that, where they take a product.
Speaking from experience, are you?
Yes, I'm speaking from experience.
I
Costco,
remember this.
they wanted Quest bars. I think we ended up saying no because their deal was terrible. And then within like a month, there were bars on the shelves that looked exactly like Quest, exactly the same color, same flavor. You look at the ingredients, the same ingredients, but no one blinks an eye at Costco for doing that. They do that for every product.
Yeah. And they should be able to.
Target, Walmart, same thing.
Do they
do, like,
really the same
like
thing?
their
Yeah,
store
Amazon.
brand, their store brand variations and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you think about it, it's kind of the same, right?
This
Whereas
is
like,
competition, baby. That you
yeah.
want the customer to win. The customer. Yeah, no one's going to be able to say I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. I want to be able to use AI, and I am perfectly happy to let people learn from every bit of content that I put out into the universe in exchange for me being able to use AI that learns from all the things that people make publicly available. Again, publicly available. If I put it behind a paywall, cool, off limits, no problem. But if you make it publicly available, train. Word.
And some love for Lisa in the chat. Lisa is actually entertaining from Truth Devon. And another Lisa Contreras says Lisa is the GOAT for sure.
why, thank you, Lisa.
Shout out to Lisa.
My
Getting love in the
namesake.
chat.
High tide raises all ships. Indeed, Scurbadurba. Indeed. So happy to see you, Lisa, says Kit Moon. What's up, Kit Moon? In the house. Nothing can replace Kung Fu Panda. Sarah Hammond coming to bat. It is I have to admit, whenever you're doing something based on a mentor, the way that we do aimed at kids, you're going to come back to Kung Fu Panda over and over. Nothing wrong with planting seeds. First plant, then water the seeds. I'm a great waterer. Well, that feels like Tourette's. I don't have the context for that. Ishan likes your hairstyle, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Hairstyle is dope.
I mean, even so, if until we got another topic, I've got one more
Well,
thing about
DJ us off that topic list.
All right. Oh God.
My dearest co-host, who was given strict instructions that she is responsible for silence. Let's go, Bilyeu.
All right. So, I mean, I can just keep telling stories.
If you
does
don't
anyone
have a
any
topic,
questions?
I want to go to this. Is this the Rubio interview?
Yes,
I thought
starting
that was
at
great.
starting
Let's
at the
play.
Houthi attack
Drag
portion.
Lisa back into politics here.
Let's go.
Set it up, please, Drew.
So in the last 18 months, the Houthis have attacked the U.S. Navy 174 times and attacked commercial shipping 145 times. President Trump is not going to leave our ships defenseless. This is a tweet from Spitfire. Marco Rubio went on Face the Nation this weekend and talked about it. He had a long conversation. This is just a snippet specifically to our Houthi attacks that we performed over the weekend.
Well, first of all, the problem here is that this is a very important shipping lane, and in the last year and a half, the last 18 months, the Houthis have struck or attacked 174 naval vessels of the United States, attacking the U.S. Navy directly 174 times, and 145 times they've attacked commercial shipping. So we basically have a band of pirates, with guided precision anti-ship weaponry, and exacting a toll system in one of the most important shipping lanes in the world. That's just not sustainable. We are not going to have these people controlling which ships can go through and which ones cannot. And so your question is, how long will this go on? It will go on until they no longer have the capability to do that.
Well, what does U.S. intelligence tell us at this point? Because the U.S. had been conducting strikes for some time, but has not stopped the Houthis. So what's going to be different right now? Do you have more fidelity in the intelligence that would make this more successful?
Well, those strikes were retaliation strikes. So they launched one missile, we hit the missile launcher, or we sent something to do it. This is not a message. This is not a one-off. This is an effort to deny them the ability to continue to constrict and control shipping. And it's just not going to happen. We're not going to have these guys, these people with weapons able to tell us where our ships can go, where the ships of all the world can go, by the way. It's not just the U.S. We're doing the world a favor.
Yeah.
We're doing the entire world a favor by getting rid of these guys and their ability to strike global shipping. That's the mission here, and it will continue until that's carried out. That never happened before. The Biden administration didn't do that. All the Biden administration would do is they would respond to an attack. These guys would launch one rocket, we'd hit the rocket launcher. That's it. This is an effort to take away their ability to control global shipping in that part of the world. That's just not going to happen anymore.
And it could
this will continue until that's finished.
It could involve ground raids?
Well, those are military decisions to be made, but I've heard no talk of ground raids. I don't think there's a necessity for it right now. I can tell you that as of last night, some of the key people involved in those missile launches are no longer with us. And I can tell you that some of the facilities that they used are no longer existing. And that will continue. Look, it's bottom line, easy way to understand it, okay? These guys are able to control what ships can go through there. They've attacked the U.S. Navy. 174 times they've attacked the United States Navy. We're not going to have people sitting around with the missiles attacking the U.S. Navy. It's not going to happen, not under President Trump.
I've got to say that, yes, correct. You cannot let people fucking attack you.
Well, first of all,
this is where you need to go ham. So yeah, I am very here for this kind of punchback. The question is it going to spill over into a more open conflict with Iran? And that I don't love. You can't have the Houthis fucking with you, or other countries for that matter. You cannot allow people to turn that waterway into a choke point. You have to push back. But given that everybody acknowledges that the Houthis are an Iranian proxy, it's like you are really launching rockets at Iran. Not directly, but that's what is going on behind the scenes. And so the question will be, how does this play out in the fullness of time? Given that China, Russia, and Iran are all in bed together, will this be read as a provocation from China? Will this be read as a provocation from Russia? Don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But it's certainly a provocation to Iran. Now, Trump has said, hey, I want to sit down, Iran. I want to negotiate with you. But if you don't come to the negotiating table, don't expect us to go quiet.
And what have they said?
As far as I know, they have not opened up channels for negotiation, but if chat has seen anything that I have missed, please let me know. But yeah, my understanding is as of right now, there are no ongoing negotiations. So we'll see. We shall see.
We have about 10 minutes before Super Chat time. I don't know if we want to do that earlier if you guys are wrapped up on this topic.
Well, let's start going in. So I want to talk about something called the Mar-a-Lago Accords, or I think it's Accord. But this is fascinating. Pull that link up. You're going to want to play. I'll tell you when to stop, but it should queue off of right where I link to it. I hope. Oh, it's so not true. When you share a YouTube link, does it not grab the time code?
Should.
Yeah, it should.
So because I put it right to the time code.
I see Mar-a-Lago Courts.
This idea that has become circulating called the Mar-a-Lago Accords. What is this Mar-a-Lago Accord?
Well, at the moment, we don't know exactly what the Mar-a-Lago Accord is, and I should stress that because it's still being thrashed out. It hasn't been announced. It's possible it may never be announced. But very broadly speaking, what they're seeking to do with the Mar-a-Lago Accord are two potentially quite contradictory things. On the one hand, they want to ensure that the dollar remains supreme as a global reserve currency and that the dollar-based financial system continues to dominate. And that's really important because when you look at what the source of American hegemonic power is today, it's not really manufacturing because that sits with China that's got a stranglehold in so many parts of the supply chain. It's actually the dollar-based financial system, which the American Federal Reserve and Treasury really does dominate. So they want to stay dominant in that field. But at the same time, they also think that the dollar is overvalued by virtue of the fact that it is the world's reserve currency, which means that people keep buying dollars, and so that pushes up the value. And that's made American manufacturing and industry less competitive and contributed to the hollowing out that they really don't like. So their vision for trying to reconcile the fact they want to keep the dollar dominant, but they also want to weaken its value, is this so-called Mar-a-Lago Accord, which would essentially entail a number of countries coming together to agree to weaken the dollar, and in exchange, America offering some form of tariff relief, some form of military protection, being allies, and potentially doing other things like maybe swapping long-term US debt for other forms of debt. It's extraordinarily bold. Who knows whether it will actually happen? Who knows whether America will actually be able to persuade or bully other countries to take part in this or not? So it's all very uncertain, but it certainly represents a very dramatic breakpoint from the type of intellectual consensus we've had driving policymaking in recent years.
You've heard the term say.
So this to me is fascinating. This is like a renegotiation of the Bretton Woods agreement that made the US dollar the world's reserve currency. Which this is not going to be something that you'll be fond about talking about. But so much of, she made a really good point somewhere else in the interview where she said, listen, we all think that the moment that we grow up in is like the nature of the world. And I remember thinking that about not the US dollar as a reserve currency, but inflation. That 2% inflation was a natural law, and that's just what happened. That over time, prices go up by roughly 2%, that you could do dumb things that would exacerbate that. But that ultimately 2% was just what happened. Not realizing, no, this is all man-made. This is modern monetary theory at play. And what she's saying is, before you just like dismiss this and say that, oh, this is crazy, this is unhinged, you need to remember that the world order that we grew up with is not natural. It was a series of decisions over time that ended up creating this moment. It's oftentimes powerful people behind the scenes doing things like they just got a bunch of world leaders together to Bretton Woods to decide like exactly what monetary policy are we going to move forward with. And it was this big battle with this guy named Keynes. So if you've ever heard of Keynesian economics, it's all born out of that. And there was these two guys like doing battle. And we have the modern monetary theory that we have now because of how that played out. And so
Oh, sorry.
What we're seeing now is this renegotiation of that, where it isn't a natural law that things be the way that they are now. So looking sideways at them because they are trying to change the system is not the right answer. The right answer is to say, okay, if we did that, given that this is a wildly complicated system that is extraordinarily difficult to engineer, what are the second and third order consequences that we might not be thinking about? Is this the play that we want to make? And so literally that far into the interview, I'm like slacking Drew manically, like, we've got to get this woman on the show. This is so interesting to me. I've never heard anybody talk about it. I had not heard about this thing bubbling up, but trying to simultaneously weaken the dollar while maintaining its status is going to be threading a needle. But to people that have an inherent reaction to weaken the dollar, I wouldn't want to do that. Yes, you would, because this is exactly how you bring manufacturing back to the US. This is how you end up having the ability to manufacture here, because goods made in America aren't so expensive that you just can't export them anywhere else in the world. And so it's this is why I really don't believe, oh God, this whole thing is making me question whether there's more Tesseract chess being played than I want to admit. It seems impossible that Trump, oh God, maybe I'm just not being nice enough. It seems impossible to me that Trump understands all of this. I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm not saying that. I think he's pretty sharp. I think he's very shrewd, but I have a bad feeling based on the way that I hear him talk, that if you sat him down and said, explain exactly what they're doing, how are we going to weaken the US dollar and make it remain the reserve currency? He's going to give a song and dance. He's going to weave. He's not going to give you a very compelling answer, but he's surrounded by people who can give you a compelling answer. I don't know what my final analysis is going to be here, but given the base assumptions that I have about we're in a Cold War with China. I think that's going to escalate, that it's going to start looking like something like 80s Russia versus 80s America. I think that we are in Thucydides' trap. I don't think there's any way. AI is the only conceivable thing that, if it's like as good as I believe it could be on my most optimistic days, AI may make the economy boom so hard that we really push this off into the distance. But you would need that kind of economic boom to avoid Thucydides' trap, because Thucydides' trap is where a declining power refuses to renegotiate the world, recognizing it's not as strong as it once was. And the ascending power, China, absolutely insists that the world accepts that it's now in a peer position with the declining power, and that maybe in fact it's stronger. And that given the architecture of the human mind, those two smash into each other, and whatever happens, happens in the process. So with that base assumption, I'm like, we have to onshore certain elements of manufacturing. Like it is a non-negotiable. Is Trump simply throwing particles together in a particle collider and just accept that there's going to be a lot of chaos and he's going to try to make the right move in the middle of the chaos? That's how it feels, which is why I don't believe that this is Tesseract chess. But nonetheless, you have to do something. And so this was the first time where I heard somebody talking that there is a concrete framework, and she's very careful in a way that I like a lot to say it's probably not Trump that can explain this, but there are people around him that get what this is. They understand how to do this. They are extraordinarily sophisticated economic minds. And just as these kind of moments have played out historically, it's possible that that's what we're about to witness here, that they really are trying to do something, that there really is a framework for this. And
why haven't they spoken up about what that framework is?
If I were going to advise politicians, this is where I'm telling you there is a skitch in my own brain that I don't know how to fully reconcile, because I want transparency. I want this stuff to happen out in public, but happening in public changes it. And so the more you can hide it, the more you can incubate the idea, get the alliances without everybody being harangued. This is why I will say to you, I have this really exciting idea, but it's not ready for you yet. Because the way your mind works is you find all the flaws. But when an idea is very fragile, if you're finding the flaws, it's like crib death. You kill the baby. It's very different to kill an infant than it is to kill a 24-year-old. And so when you have an idea that's in its infancy, it's easy to strangle it. When you have a 24-year-old that's fucking yoked and trained in BJJ, now all of a sudden it fucking fights back. And so if you can do this stuff in private, you can train it. You can get good at answering the hard questions. You can get good at the messaging and the marketing. You can have an alliance of people that weren't attacked by their voting public that is in this race for political power, where people will lie, they will cheat, they will frame, they will posture just to get back into power. So when you do this stuff in private, not subject to all of that political machinery, you're able to age up that idea, to train it to fight for itself. And so now it becomes a lot harder to kill. And so I don't know what to do with that, because I don't want things hidden from me. People fucking abuse that privilege so grotesquely during COVID. I'm at a never again state. I'll never be systematically lied to. Fuck you. As a populace, we just can't allow it. But at the same time, I fully acknowledge that there are benefits to hiding things and to doing it in the dark and to doing it in the shadows. For instance, when the pagers blew up, taking out Hamas, I want them to be able to lie about that. So it's like, what the fuck do you do with that? So anyway, I will just continue to fully acknowledge the schism in my own brain that understands that some things have to be done cloak and dagger or they will never get done. But that it's super dangerous.
The question I have is, do you just want them to hide it from the American public? Like, would you want to know? And is it that you don't necessarily trust people in the world to understand it and maneuver, but you would want to know? Or like, you're like, I don't even want to know.
I want to know everything.
Oh, yeah.
I want all the secrets in the world. But hold on. I don't trust myself. And the value that I bring to the world, the thing that I want, whatever legacy, which I never really think about, but the thing I want to be known for now, and if someone has to remember me for something after I die, the thing I would want to be remembered for was recognizing I'm trapped inside my biology. I have a frame of reference, and therefore I and everyone else cannot be trusted. And if I could get more people to go, you know what? I can't trust myself implicitly. Like, I really have to have checks and balances. This is Lincoln's whole thing of a team of rivals, was he wanted people that would challenge him. He wanted people from both sides of the aisle. He wanted people to remove his blind spots. This is me romanticizing Lincoln. I fully understand that. This is me projecting onto Lincoln. I fully understand that. But the way that I romanticize him in my mind is somebody who understood that he couldn't trust himself fully. You have to trust yourself enough. You have to have convictions. The man was willing to fight and die for what he believed in. But at the same time, he understood the likelihood of him being misguided, of seeing things poorly, and that I need to surround myself with people that will check me. So I have the same impulse everybody else has. I want to be the one that knows all the secrets. I want to be the one. I think I can be trusted. And so I just know that you have to have a framework in place to protect me from myself, or to protect the world from myself.
What?
All right. So on that, by the way, I sent you a document. Check your, you need to go through like a checklist and make sure that we hit all these things from the intro before we have to wrap.
Send me a checklist where?
It is super chat time.
It's TBS 31725. Treat everything between commas as a thing that must be talked about. Just literally go through and cross them out as we have talked about them. All right, super chats. What's up, everybody?
All right. Connor Brown, thank you for your $20 super chat. Tom, huge fan. I appreciate you taking a serious look at both sides of the aisle. Here's a link to add to the convo about political corruption. Connor, I checked it in the Discord. I did not see it. Let me know if you have the link or not.
Discord doesn't block links, right? So for sure.
Discord should be 100% free. I added them earlier today to send it through. I haven't seen it yet. So Connor, make sure you send that over to me so I can get that going to you and we can see what the link is.
By the way, for anybody new to the community, the way that super chats work, and we should have interrupted the flow for that $20 super chat. So Connor, my apologies. If you want to interrupt us during any time in a super chat, just drop a super chat that's $20 or more. $20 or more will interrupt the conversation to address. If it's $19.99 or less, we will hold it until now. It's sometimes towards the back half of the second hour. And we will go through the super chats, and we do them in descending order of amount pledged. I don't know what word to use there, but spent. And also YouTube users, beware. You're going to want to do like $20.01 because for whatever fucking reason, it rounds it down to 1999. We should probably just start, Drew, at 19. They're not doing it on purpose. They're getting rounded down. If you see a 1999, then just bump it to the top.
Copy that.
Treat it
Speaking
like
of
a
that,
20.
we have a 1999 super chat right now from Malcolm.
Let's go, Malcolm.
Hi, Tom and friends. No question this time. Just wanted to show my appreciation of your show. Love the content, variety of topics, how you articulate, break it down, and your overall transparency. Keep up the greater work, guys. Thanks, Malcolm.
Thank you, Malcolm. Means a lot. Means a lot. Thank you, man.
All right. Then we have a $10 super chat from Lyrith. Left media has never slowed down, gaslighting the public against Trump. This literally forges a captive audience, indoctrinated into a false reality about him. Abbott, a small collective, they're loud.
Believe it or not, that's how you spell albeit.
Oh, albeit.
Yeah. If you've never seen it, it is the weirdest word ever. Because I certainly assumed it was ALL space BE space IT, albeit. Nope, that's it. Anyway, yeah. Listen, man, both sides are all about narrative control. I would say the right, because they tend towards the individual, they tend towards free speech and all that stuff, are less likely, but they are for sure spinning hard. So this is where you got to be careful. This is why I absolutely love the modern era of media, where you can essentially, if you treat the host as an AI, you can pick your bias, right? Like I have biases. I try to lay them out. I try to be as clear-eyed about my own biases as I can, but we all have them. It is the architecture of the human mind. There is no way to not have a bias, but you get to pick yours. So this is like picking your own algorithm. Find the person that has a bias that you think is most useful, which would be the way that I would say it. I think many people use the equivalent of emotional masturbation by finding people that tickle their G-spot and say the things that they already believe. I would highly encourage you. That has low utility unless you're just steering by your hidden goal of I want G-spot tickled.
Or they do the opposite,
unwise.
whereas like I'm coming here in order to combat
get
and argue
enraged.
and enrage.
Yeah.
And
similar concept of I just want my emotion manipulated. But I had a thought this weekend, in fact, where I realized that the very thing that manipulates my emotions in a drug-like way is creation. I feel very fortunate. I did not earn that. That's just how I'm wired. But this weekend, Lisa and I were doing selfish time. And I realized the most selfish thing that I could do was work on a story called Coyotes of the Air Gap. Which if you guys have not heard me talk about, it is a story that is just lodged in my brain. It's set inside the Project Kaizen universe. I am fucking obsessed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this in the same way that somebody would take a drug. I'm doing this because I like the way that it makes me feel. So be clear-eyed, boys and girls, about what makes you feel the way that you want to feel. And if you always want to feel enraged, that is life-shortening, would not be my advice. But anyway, I think people would enjoy their lives more if they steered by utility. Period.
Cool. All right, and Sequoia just wanted to show some super chat love. She sent over 2 $9.99 super chats and a $1.99 super chat. So thank you, Sequoia Hall. We appreciate your support to the show.
And shout out again to
Mindy
apparently
Pals.
Lisa's favorite human in the world as she sits next to her husband. She wants you all to know that Mindy Pals is her favorite human.
Mindy
of all time.
Pals should be your favorite human
I'm-
because the amount like she's helping with
Listen.
me with my hormones. And in the marriage, as you go into perimenopause, things do change.
Yeah.
Just for the
These are
record.
facts. In fact, Mindy,
So you should be thanking
you're both
Mindy.
of our favorite person. Because man, oh man, boys and girls, if you are young and you're in a relationship, let me tell you what's coming for you. Perimenopause is real. That shit is real. So brace yourselves. Asteroid incoming. All right.
All right, Joshua Childs sent over a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Joshua Giles. I believe your thinking on rare earth minerals is wrong. Rare is propaganda. They are common, just environmentally terrible to extract. Does this change your perspective on the quote-unquote deals?
No, I'm not sure in what way. So one, I think that you're going to end up being proven correct because we'll get better at identifying where these minerals are. And over time, it may just be that the places that we think have them versus the places that we think don't have them just have to do with where they're embedded in the Earth's crust. And as we get good at identifying where those are, then countries like the US that seem to have smaller deposits of them, that they really do have plenty, but we'll see. That's just a hypothesis. Right now, it is my understanding that they really are easier to access in other places, in which case, if they are as important to our modern way of life as I believe them to be, and they are currently far easier to extract in other places, that you're better off working with another country. Now, let's just run a thought experiment, and let's say that this is just about environmental devastation. Would I want to trigger NIMBY, which is not in my backyard? It's a good question. I think it's better if you take an ethical framework of everything is owned by somebody. There's a name for this, and I keep forgetting it. But there's this whole hypothesis put forward. Eric Weinstein talks about it. Now I'm fucking forgetting what it's called. Where if everything had an owner, then everything would get fought for. So nobody would dump chemicals into a river because that's not common property. That's a person's property. So they'd be like, don't fucking pollute my river. And so they would fight back. And so you would get this equilibrium. So I think if this is what you mean, Joshua, that if we all had to bear the burden from it's hurting the planet, hurting the environment, if we all had to bear our own burden, would that change the way that we approach it? The answer is yes. I think that it would. And I think that it would in a good way, in that it would force us to innovate and either move away from it or to do it well. And I think that that would benefit the planet as a whole. But this is where you get into the realities of where we're at from a mining perspective, where we're at from a political reality perspective. If our modern way of life is such that if our modern way of life requires these minerals, rare or otherwise, and the only cost-effective way that our own voting public will put up with is getting it from somewhere else, then I would want to get it somewhere else. I believe that innovation, this is my bias, I believe that innovation lifts more people out of poverty, out of dire straits than any fucking thing else. And even if we're doing the planet a little bit dirty, it is worth all the people that we've been able to pull out of poverty. And I believe that innovation is going to be the thing that ultimately saves us. So if you look at the deaths from coal mining, which is a graph I came across on X over the weekend, I thought this was really brilliant. It's one of those things I did not expect to stick to my ribs, so I don't think I saved it. But when you look at it, it's like, literally, it gets cut down to like 10% of what it was. So a massive 90% decrease in the amount of deaths from coal mining before any safety regulations were put in place. Before that, it was just all innovation. Electricity, air filtration, better stability of the mines, all of that just from greedy capitalists. Just fucking, I don't want to have to keep finding new workers because they keep dying. Like, I'm sure it wasn't that hideous. But even if you assume it was just that gross, they didn't give a fuck. They don't care if they live or die. They just rehiring and finding the next group and training them was such that it caused them to innovate to the point where it dramatically improved the longevity of a coal miner. That was way better than people specifically saying, I just need this to be healthy. I just need this to be safe. The real thing came from innovation. That's why I'm obsessed. It doesn't sound as good on a fucking t-shirt, innovation will save your life, but innovation will actually save your life. That's the thing that actually works. So there was a time where we were just fucking eaten by other better things, or microbes. They fucking killed more. I think malaria kills more people than anything else combined forever. And so innovation is going to be the thing that helps you. It isn't going to be focusing just on the environment, which, by the way, we should all want a wonderful environment. So innovation.
Is this just taking questions from the audience then? Because
Nope,
he said
we're in
something
Super
that.
Chat.
We're still super chatting.
Okay. So not to go back to your spreadsheet.
Okay, number 5. We got a $5 super chat from Zach Goldwasser. There's an article with this title on Cointelegraph. Crypto czar David Sachs likens Trump meme coin to a baseball card. Yeah, that's a same interview I was referencing to, where it's like
at some point. We don't necessarily have to do it right now, but I could not find that this weekend when I specifically sought it out. So I'm very grateful to you guys finding that. Thank you, Zach. Very much appreciated.
And we got a $5 super chat from Mikkel. Do you believe it should be illegal to pay someone in a currency that they had to invest instantly to maintain their purchasing power? Hashtag let us save.
Do you believe it should be illegal to pay someone in a currency that they have? Oh, So the US dollar, no, because there would be knock-on effects to that would be grotesque. But I do think that it is morally repugnant that we print money and therefore people have to invest. There are some interesting, so deal with the world the way that it is, not the way that you wish it would be. Let's start there. Given that the way that the world is right now, and it's not going to be changing anytime soon, is that you have to invest. There's an interesting argument to be made that the area that we should be focusing on are letting people invest in things that they understand. The easiest one that comes to mind is a house. And we're doing weird things, getting the government involved in that, which just ends up fucking up the housing market, because then the government is incentivized to make sure that housing prices go up, which is exactly what you don't want. You want a house to maintain. Just maintain. If it goes up due to natural things, great. But like the example I will always use, all of a sudden people were rushing into Austin. And so for a minute, housing prices went up. Cool. Now, oddly enough, housing prices, I think, or rents certainly have gone down in Austin because they've been making policies that clearly are helping renters. But I want to see these things happen with as light of a touch from government as possible versus the government trying to engineer. This is where things always end up going wrong. Don't over-engineer.
So back in the day, growing up for me, it was property is the safest bet. Put money in property and you'll end up making money. My dad started investing in property when we were really young. Obviously, property in London skyrocketed, so we did very well, or he did very well. But is that then it's just a different time now? Property is...
It's an illusion.
Go on.
The sterling pound has lost so much value over the last 100 years because you guys had an empire and that empire was fucking you up. And so to stay afloat, you money printed like crazy. You guys were the most recent collapsed empire due to money printing. And so you guys printed, and it lost like 99.9% of its value. So your dad was right. He just didn't understand why he was right. He was right because if I put my money in a bank account, it's going to get inflated to nothing. If I put it into a house, the house will keep up with inflation. Now, if things were also happening demographically in London and there's a scarcity of housing because of zoning restrictions and the like, which you guys have in fucking spades, then just like more population is going to actually drive the price up as well. But I don't actually know that happened. What I know happened is over the last 150 years now, you guys printed money so grotesquely that asset owners were going to keep up with inflation and people that just try to save their money were going to lose. Now, there was things going on during the Thatcher administration that are pretty interesting in terms of she tried to get the poor to become property owners. And at a headline level, it didn't end up working out the way that she wanted it to. And so I'd need to look closely to find out why not. But it's largely an illusion. Like you think your property is going up in value, but all of that is the amount that the dollar has been devalued. But remember, we started this live by me saying the supposed theoretical Mar-a-Lago Accord is about weakening the dollar specifically so that people can catch up to the inflation, so that asset prices become more accessible to the average person. So the stock market going down is both good and bad. It is devastating to people that own assets. I mean, you can if you're overly deployed in the stock market and the stock market gets walloped and you need to take that money out in the short term, you can literally go broke. If you bought into the stock market on leverage, you can literally go broke. But on the flip side, now somebody who was like, houses are out of reach for me, stocks are out of reach for me in any meaningful way, not anymore. But this is why you have to be aggressive when other people are fearful. But most people aren't. When people are fearful, they're fucking fearful. And so they're going to miss this opportunity. This is why the right mantra to live by when it comes to assets is time in the market is more important than timing the market. So this is why, boys and girls, please, if you own crypto, if you own a house, don't fucking worry about fluctuations on short time horizons. Have a theory about what's going on. As long as the theory is true, then just hold tight. So the reason I own Bitcoin is not because I think Bitcoin won't go down. Bitcoin could drop back down to $12,000, $2,000. Why would I still hold it? Because one, if I sell in the short term, then I lock in those losses. 2, because I bought Bitcoin because I believe that the future is going to be more digital than the past. And one of the most important things to digitize is money. And the last fucking place I want my digital money is in the hands of the fucking government, who I know will use it against me to ice me out. Fuck that very much. I want it in something that isn't as easily, it's still controllable, but not as easily controllable by the government. Given that that theory remains true, I wouldn't sell even though I see the price go up and down and blah, blah, blah. Now, admittedly, I only go to Lisa when the price is up. And I'm like, you're up millions of dollars. When the price is down, the good news is right now, the price has to
Well,
drop
I don't
pretty
even
low.
ask you because I just can't get emotionally invested in that.
Very wise. All right, red light.
All right, we got a $20 super chat coming in from April. Thank you, April, for the $20 super chat. I love Lisa. She's a great listener, and I appreciate how her energy naturally calms Tom down. She grounds him, and I agree that changing hormones definitely complicates healthy communication in a relationship. Laughing emojis.
Do I ground you?
Are you kidding? No,
I mean,
you
yes,
are
I am.
kidding.
I am kidding.
Wait. Do you think you ground me?
Yeah, I do.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I just meant on the show, like it clearly is noticeable, but
I know, the same. I forget how self-evident it must be to people looking in how different I am when I'm around.
yeah, like it doesn't. I don't think
She's
about
so
it.
good at manipulating me. You guys have no idea. Was it this weekend that you came to me with your sweet?
Oh my God, yes.
Oh God, this is so good.
This was a master manipulating
Literally.
tactic.
And the funny thing is, she's like, you didn't say the word manipulate, but you were so funny about I'm doing this on purpose to get, like, literally saying I'm using my sweet voice on purpose because I want you. I don't even remember what you.
No, it was so I needed to log
so well,
into
my
the
God.
Apple ID, and you normally get annoyed with me because you're like, for fuck's sake,
I told her that
save
fucking
the bloody password
1,000 times.
And
Boys and
here
girls.
I am. And here I am trying to log into something and I couldn't. And I was like, oh God, if I go to you, you're just going to get annoyed again. I was like, oh, but I do all these episodes about manipulation. Like I could just go and manipulate him into wanting to help me. And I know you, and I know that you've given me the language to do that. Like if you want to manipulate me, this is how you do it. And so you've said to me many times that men and yourself want to be appreciated for how much you go out into the world and really fight. So I came to you with my phone and I was like, I really appreciate the fact that you help me log in. When you're not around, I get stuck and I just don't know what to do.
This isn't her
babe.
actual sweet voice. I just want to rat her out.
Do you want me to do a bit of a sweet voice?
No, actually,
So
that
anyway-
feels private
okay.
in some weird way. I just wanted to acknowledge that is
So,
the voice. If
but
people
I-
are like, I wouldn't fall for that.
but I
Neither would
did-
I.
but
But
I
the
did-
real sweet voice.
Babe, do you mind? I really appreciate.
getting closer.
I was like, I really appreciate you doing this, but it's like I knew you were going to get annoyed, so I was like, show your appreciation, show how much
God,
that
it
if he
works so
wasn't, because here's the thing, none of it was BS. I wasn't lying to you. When you're not here and I have to log into certain things, I forget my password. I end up being like, oh my God, I really need him, and so. In that moment, I was like, I'm just going to say the thing that I know is going to manipulate you. And I even, like, you even laughed and I laughed. So obviously I'll never manipulate you without your knowledge, but it worked. And you didn't get annoyed with me. And you're like, all right, give me your phone. You're like, that's good. Babe.
works.
That was good. It worked.
Oh, yeah.
So anyone out there, it's a
Literally.
great tip, relationship tip.
I did have a question though about like hormonal changes because I did hear, and this is something that came up this week and I was hanging out with some friends and they talked about if a woman changes birth control, the person she's attracted to also changes.
If she goes off birth,
Or if she goes off of birth control.
that is the craziest and true
That's nuts
shit
to me.
ever. So, okay, this is where we have to get in. There's a whole thing in the animal kingdom known as, this is literally what biologists call it, the sneaky fucker strategy. So the number of animals that deploy some variation of this is crazy, where they will have men who like mimic size and plumage of the female. Not all the way, but enough. And so you need only think about effeminate men. Now, if you think of effeminate men as deploying a somewhat sneaky fucker strategy where they're being the best friend to get close to women, and a woman who is on birth control, which is giving your body the signal that you are pregnant, they prefer a man with softer, more feminine features. You take them off birth control, now they want to get pregnant, and they prefer more rugged masculine features. How fucking crazy is that? That is a woman going, yo, I need that fucking tough, strong guy that's gonna be very successful out in the world. But when I'm pregnant, I need somebody that's gonna take care of me, dote on me, like make sure that, you know, I've got access to the resources. Dude, it is nuts. Like, this is why, understand, you are having a biological experience, man. We are an evolutionary creature. It's crazy. Is that red light real?
It's the same way that they do the sniff test on the men's shirts. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Where they have men go out and do all these things, and then women smell their shirts, and they're more attracted to the more masculine man that had like through the sweat gland.
Unfortunately, that test was about difference of your immune system. So you will prefer the scent of somebody whose immune system is maximally different from yours, which is interesting. So if you find somebody's BO like off-putting, odds are that their immune system is very similar to yours, and your kids would be in a weakened state. But if you guys really want to get freaked out, the human race is the story of incest. It's very distressing, very distressing how much incest is in all of our lineage. Crazy town.
All right, back to Super Chat.
Thank
I don't
you.
want
Thank
to
you,
talk
Drew.
about
I was like, oh God.
Hey, real talk, kids. Real talk. Being a human is not the straight line that we wish it were.
All right, this is from Work Hard, Hold BTC. Paying for time with president or immigration just put people closest to the corrupt money printer, closer to what they want without proving work.
Yup. Agreed. Icky. No, not a fan.
All right, another super chat from Esoteric Dichotomy. Thank you for the
man,
$4.99
Esoteric in the chat routinely. Good to see you.
Should government sell all public land except military bases, government buildings, maybe national parks, go to conservation groups, pay down the debt?
Okay, that's that whole idea of somebody owns everything. I haven't thought enough about it to know what side that I come down on. However, the idea of turning our natural resources into a sovereign wealth fund, that's interesting. But there's also a very compelling argument to be made that the real resource of America is technological expertise, effectively the US stock market. And the real thing that we should be getting every American invested in, instead of doing entitlements, we should get every American invested in the stock market at birth. There's a real argument to be made for that. I forget what year they clocked it at. Let's say that it was like 1960 or 1970, somewhere around there. If you had put $1,000 into the stock market back in 1960, it's worth millions of dollars today. And so you'd obviously be in a way better position if you were born in 1960, the government saying, cool, I'm just going to put $1,000 in the US stock market for you, not going to touch it. Just let's say S&P 500. And so the management of the S&P 500, where they're constantly rolling off companies that no longer qualify and bringing on the new companies, that in and of itself would make you far richer at retirement than what we could be doing, which is basically buying treasuries. So right now, effectively what they do, because you pay into something once you get to working age, that money is invested in US treasuries, which is another part of the whole fucking scam. I'll resist. And that puts you on like, whatever, the $1,000 a month versus, bro, if you had millions of dollars. So anyway, we are not making wise economic choices. We are instead making kids pay for our debt lifestyle. Absolutely sinister.
All right, and Not Your Day with the $2.79 Canadian dollar super chat. Thank you, Not Your Day. Name ways the world is to how people wish it was.
Name ways how the world could be the way that people wish it were. I can speak for myself. I wish that all politicians were transparent and just obsessed with serving the people, that they were not looking for every angle to enrich themselves. I wish that people themselves prized nuance and transparency over everything. They obviously do not. I wish that we didn't inflate the money supply because it absolutely robs from the poor and middle class and gives to asset holders. I wish that we were not slaves to our biology, and on and on. I wish that the world steered by utility instead of emotion.
And you actually talk like that just off camera in case people don't know. So like if there's something, I'll come to you and I'll be like, I can't believe this. And you're like, because you're living in a world that you wish it was, not the reality. And you're able in real time to look at almost every scenario, or not even almost, you do look at every scenario and go, that's what I wish, but it's not true. So how do we act when it's true versus wish? And most of us act on the wish.
Yeah, if I could put it in a single sentence, get obsessed with utility. The problem is that if you get obsessed with utility, you will lie you will manipulate because it works. And so it's like, get obsessed with utility within an ethical framework is the real full sentence, but not always easy to do.
Ishan actually says, how about an episode about all the things that aren't actually true, but everybody thinks they are?
Ooh, that episode would be 9 months long. But it would
It's a
certainly be
series.
interesting. Yeah, a very long and detailed series.
Longer than my
that
Hero
also people wouldn't agree
Academia.
with. Nobody would. There'd be no consensus. That is the ironic thing. So there's a trifecta: your biology, your beliefs, and your values control not only what you look at, but what you see when you look at it. So different people can look at the same thing and see something differently, and that's why you shouldn't trust yourself all the way. Obviously, you have to trust yourself enough to make decisions and move forward, but you should want, this is why I seek out, and I don't want to create a perverse incentive in chat to people will want to get attention just by arguing with me, even though they don't believe it. But I really do seek out the things where people are trying to tell me that I'm wrong because I prize utility. And I think people think they're going to get me with a gotcha because they think I pride myself on being right when I don't. Any one episode, any one belief that I have is utterly irrelevant to me. I am trying to do a thing in the world. And the beliefs that allow me to do that thing, I'm going to adopt aggressively. Things that hold me back, I'm going to get rid of.
Red light.
True. Red light.
Red light. Okay, we still got some other super chats, but we just got a $20 super chat come in from RJ Johnson. He said,
Boy, RJ in the house. RJ kicked off the super chat debate. So RJ, lovely to see you.
nice. If the government treated Social Security like an IRA and put our contributions into the market, we'd all be millionaires at retirement. Unfortunately, it's a Ponzi scheme. So illegal if it wasn't our federal government. Sad face.
That is so true. This is one of the places that I end up derailing when people claim that a politician is corrupt, just like the whole system is corrupt. Think about this. The US government can counterfeit money, but you can't. They'd be very angry if you did it. You would go to prison. But the US government does it nonstop. They give it a different name, but that's what they're doing. They're literally just counterfeiting money. Yeah. So RJ, you are correct. And thank you for paying money to say a true thing. I appreciate it.
All right, and we had a super chat from earlier. We have DreadCon Piracy sent thank you for the $2 super chat. He said, should we not super chat to stop corruption chat? This was in reference of the 5.5 million that sit with Trump. So he says we have to pay super chats to get our comments read. Should we not do that?
You know what's funny? When we were talking about it, I thought the same thing.
Interesting.
Boys and girls, this is why I'm telling you right now, it is a proxy for value. You have to have a filtering mechanism. This is why it is not, it isn't inherently problematic to use money to skip the queue. Disneyland. What is problematic is when it happens to politicians, because politicians can change the very system. And so now you are asking politicians not to change the system to advantage them or the person paying them money. If you set a policy and it's the same for everybody, now it's like, cool, I'm open. What's going to be the thing that has the highest utility that we can make the policy so that everybody knows the rules of the game to play by? Cool. The rule is ultimately going to be arbitrary, but we have to pick something. And money has massive utility. But because money is so freakishly high utility, you have to be very careful who you let wield that weapon. And if it goes to enrich I think even at the party level, it's fucking dangerous. If it goes to enrich the person, derange, this is exactly what people call corruption, because people will fucking wound, destroy anybody in their path to make their life better. And so it ends up being what's known as a kleptocracy, where the people at the top are just trying to steal from everybody else. You don't want that. If your North Star is making things good for as many people as humanly possible, you do not fucking want that. It just leads to absolute death and fucking despair. It is a level of despair that is hard to express. So we don't want that. But when it's not, so take a show like this. You guys aren't beholden here. It doesn't matter what we do here. You can just move on to the next show. But I have to pay my employees. They, oddly enough, shock, they won't work for free. So the show has to generate money. We've got a bunch of people putting up comments. Left to my own devices, I end up just picking the people that are arguing with me. And so does that make the ideal show? No, probably not. So we use something that helps us as a company, and that thing is money. And so, yeah, we literally let people bribe us because it doesn't impact your guys' life outside of the arena of this show. But it is a bribe, literally. If you pay me more money, I will read your comment. And the reasons I just explained are why, in this context, that's not unethical.
All right, and a $4.99 super chat from Jack Marsh. Thank you, Jack Marsh, for the $4.99 super chat. Hey, gang, always love the show. How can we get all the politicians to send us the 5 things they did last week? Seems like all they want to do is argue and spend time, quote unquote, on stage.
All right, this is tickling my G-spot.
And sorry, what that's not showing on screen, the message.
He replied to the super chat, so the first one is blank. Yep.
So, yeah, this is crazy. I cannot believe that people don't want to hold politicians accountable for what they do. That is somebody with a belief system and a value system that is so deranged against them that I can't wrap my head around it. I can steel man it. I can articulate their stance. It is so absurd with my worldview. That's full retard, and you never go full retard.
All right, we got a $4.99 super chat from NATO Gunner. Tom, the U.S. stock exchange's market capitalization is over $50 trillion. The recent scare over tariffs was simply a 10% market correction. Agree? ?
No, it's probably, look, that is a part of it. But I am so hesitant to call what's happening now Tesseract chess, where it's like these guys are just so brilliant that they're saying, I don't think you've heard me say this before. This is my favorite way to think about this. Shoot me in the ear, bro. So Trump going, you know what would be good for me? If there was an attempted assassination, but just graze you have to hit me in the head, but you got to just graze it so that I'm bleeding. We get the fucking picture. People can say he was literally shot in the head, all of that. Super dramatic. It's going to be awesome. No one is that controlled. That's so dumb. If you find yourself saying, oh, I bet he put himself up to it. What the fuck universe do you live in? So I don't think this is Tesseract chess. I think this, even if this is people saying this is one of the possible outcomes of what could happen, it is so dangerous. This is not the game to play. Now, at the same time, I think it is a market correction because the market is so fucking freaked out by what Trump is doing, what I call hokey pokey tariffs, that take advantage of it. It is a consequence of what is happening. Whether this is a controlled thing that people could do or not, it is the thing that's happening. So cool, we've got a market correction and it's not all bad. In fact, from a debt jubilee perspective, a debt jubilee is a very nice way of saying we're going to eliminate the debt of the people that owe money, and we're going to eliminate the asset of the people that own the debt. It's horrible, but you have to let this happen, because if you don't let this happen, the markets derange. And the way that it plays out, at least in the current modern monetary theory, is that the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. And look, I'm speaking to you on behalf of the wealthy. It is a fucking shitty system. So I'll tell you everything I know about how to avoid the pain and suffering of the shitty system. And that will help you get rich in exactly the same way that I can turn the wealth that I built building companies into growing wealth in the asset bubble, Ponzi scheme, however you want to think about it. The gambling machine, I think, is the right way to think about it. It's still gross, and I don't want to see people do it. So I would much rather just be able to save my fucking money. Like, I'd much rather just say, I got rich, I'm going to save it. I don't have to worry about it being inflated. Even I would rather be in that position. So yeah, anyway, it is a market correction, but it was born of something that I think is too chaotic to be perceived as controlled.
We got another $5 super chat from Joshua Giles. Thank you for your second super chat of the day. We appreciate you. We're supposed to remind you to ask how conscious Lisa was of building you up early in marriage. It was from our Friday episode.
Joshua,
or Wednesday episode,
thank you
yes.
for that. That is amazing. Okay.
Because you remember you said she was, you remember?
Oh, yes.
Copy.
So, okay.
You need to give people context, and myself. I probably watched the episode, so I think I remember.
I think that there has become a weird breakdown in the way that people think of the relationship between men and women. Mm-hmm. Once you look at men and women as evolutionary creatures, it becomes very self-evident that for essentially all of human history, women had to work through men in the political arena, all of that. Why? Because you just killed your fucking opponents. And whether you want to believe it or not, women are physically way more frail than men. So over evolutionary timescales, women evolution, in conjunction with women, however you want to think about it, came up with a strategy that said, I'm not going to beat you physically, but oh shit, I'm going to get very good at getting people to do what I want. And there's no way to get to this without being crude. But it isn't money that makes the world go round. It's vagina. And once you understand that, then you actually understand the game that's being played. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's sex and power. It's both. It's not just vagina.
Say more.
So I think you've read The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene.
Yes.
I had him on, amazing. And he said the same. Like, look, you look back in history, women couldn't fight. Women couldn't fight against men. They didn't have the power. How did we have the power? Through seduction.
Yep.
So.
And? So I'm giving that a very direct label, but what are you saying that contradicts?
So the woman is using her form of power to entice a male who also has power. So it's sex and power. I don't think women are just using sex for no reason.
Agreed.
So they're going to use the sex.
Say in a single sentence what contradicts what I'm saying.
It doesn't contradict. It's a yes and.
Okay.
So because power,
let me
women
give you an
wouldn't use the
example.
sex if men didn't have the power.
Okay, very well said. Point completely conceded. What I'm saying is the reason I think the highest utility thing to understand is that vagina makes the world go round is because if you want to destroy a man, what would you use?
I mean, I know you're going to say sex, but I have so many nuances in my head.
Say them all, because it isn't just sex.
So repeat the question.
If you want to bring down a man, what would you use?
Am I being nefarious?
Sure.
Oh God, you're making me say this out loud. If I really, really wanted to, because I didn't like them, because they were evil. So let me set the stage, because I wouldn't just do it for no reason. You strip away their power, right? You strip away their...
Well, I mean, that's what you're trying to do. But if you want to take his power away from him, you're going to use sex. Like, if you want to manipulate a man, it's sex, power. So, hey, I can, rise you up in the government. And I'm going to use money. So money, sex, and power. Those are going to be the trifecta. Now, what I'm saying is, if you understand them in hierarchical order, I'm not saying there aren't men who don't care about sex. I'm just saying what belief has the highest utility. So take somebody, this is my favorite example of all time, and I want to get him on the show, but I've talked about this so many times, there's no universe in which he will ever come on the show. You can find a dick pic of Jeff Bezos. Why? Because for all the power in the world, there is still something about sex. If you want to build the next Jeffrey Epstein, you make him wealthy for sure, because people want access to his money, but what's the thing that you get behind the scenes? You get them having sex with underage girls. And the fact that you can do that to so many people is crazy, because we have a evolutionarily placed algorithm in our brain that makes us want to become successful, specifically to get access to females. And there is a loop. Which came first? I don't fucking know. It's like you're trying to drag men out of caves to make sure that they're not getting eaten, to make sure that they're successful. So I'm saying it in a cheeky way, but there's so much utility in understanding my own story, which is what brought this up, was when I was not trying to impress you, I was perfectly willing to lie to myself about the things that I was doing. Then, once I got you to agree to marry me, I suddenly saw myself in a very different way, which was now I was dragging somebody else down. Now, you can for sure make a case that, okay, that's like ethics, and you said you were going to do this, and so you don't want to lie, and so you want to be congruent with that. But why did I want to impress you, a woman? Like, what was that? What is that evolutionary push? The evolutionary push is evolution has one goal and one goal only. It is not to make me wealthy. It is to make sure that I have kids that survive long enough to have kids. That is all the fuck that evolution cares about. So I'm saying vagina is in pole position for that reason. I'm not saying the other things don't matter, but I'm saying they're the lever that evolution yanks on to get me to do the only fucking thing that it cares about, which is to have kids that survive long enough to have kids. Everything else is manipulating me to do that. And where does that start? With sex. So if you're going to force me to rank order them, that's going to be the first, because that's what evolution wants. So I know everything else is a servant to that. And this is why you get into the disposable male hypothesis. It has everything to do with women take 9 months to have a baby. It is extremely dangerous and extremely hard. Men are disposable because one guy can get hundreds of women pregnant, hundreds, maybe thousands of women, depending on, you could probably, if it's a novel female, you could get at least one woman pregnant a day, every day for, well into your 30s. That'd be easy. So, yeah. Oh, for sure, thousands. So you can get thousands, one guy can get thousands of women pregnant, as our boy Genghis Khan has proven. So anyway, I rest my case. To me, it is self-evident that while all three of those things are the tools that you would use to manipulate a man, that vagina is in pole position because of what nature wants from us.
I think you addressed this, but I want to make sure that I say this out loud. But men also have so let's say women have the manipulation power of using sex to, I don't want to say control a man, but influence. Okay. But a man has the same pull with a woman with power and money. So I don't know if you remember this actually. And as I was listening to you guys talking, so I watched the episode where this came up, and flash a memory of something that happened with me and you. Do you remember we used to go to the warehouse in Marina Del Rey to get the amazing desserts?
Yes.
When we were really badly dieting, and so the desserts were everything to us.
Oh, yes.
So we go to the warehouse, and do you remember one time, this is poor days, guys, so we don't have much money. We go to the warehouse, and we were dying for this dessert. It was like the thing we'd been saving up for. We get there, and they're like, sorry, kitchen is closed. I remember
the story very well.
Okay, this is the story that came to mind. So they go, sorry, guys, the kitchen is closed. Now, we've saved up. We've been dieting. We've been excited. We've been talking about it. It was date night, and here we go, and they're closed. And I was like, oh man, I was so sad. And there was a guy just sitting at the bar, and he's an older guy. And he turns around to the waitress and he says, give them the dessert. And they're like, okay, sorry, come and take a seat. And we're like, what? And they're like, that's the owner. And I remember turning around, because you're not a jealous guy and we always have a very open, transparent relationship. I remember turning around to you and being like, babe, I don't think he's attractive. I'm not attracted to him at all. But what he just did was a real turn on. Like, that was really sexy. And I remember just saying that to you. Now, going back to what you guys are saying, was I deliberately, subliminarily
I love that. That should be a word.
That should be a word.
But it should be.
It's at least a dictionary. Subliminarily planting a seed in your mind. Yeah.
Of course.
But that's, in talking about this in the question, there isn't like this nefarious ha ha ha, but there is I'm turned on by power. And that was one of those things that, as me in your relationship, it's natural. And I could be honest with you. So was that something that then you, as you're building Quest and you hit these roadblocks, in the back of your mind, my wife saying that power is sexy, that then encourages you to push past your own limits?
Yes. This is the very thing that I'm saying. That story is brilliant for summing up. That is one of 1,000 little moments where you pushed me to be better, to get stronger, to be tougher, to ask for more, to make bigger demands, to live up to the things that I said that I was going to do, all while in the moment making me feel like right now in this moment you love me and I'm amazing and all of that. But it was like, this is within the context of expecting you to push and grow and get better. And I was saying to one of our younger staff members here, I was like, if you're with a woman that's not pushing you to be a better man, you need to immediately replace her with a woman that will push you to be a better man. Because few things have yielded better results in my life than you pushing me to be a better man. And that's somehow become taboo and a thing that we can't talk about. And I don't fucking get it. Like, that is absurd. And this is one of those where I'm like, I'm just glad I'm fucking old, because I lived in a time where it was like, I knew you were doing that to me. I wanted you to do that to me. I thought it was fantastic. And everybody talked about it. That's how it should be. My mom was like, yeah, that's how it should be. She should be pushing you to be better, and you should be striving for more. And just like that was like in the cultural zeitgeist of, I don't even know if people say this anymore, but it used to be the phrase, behind every powerful man is a powerful woman. Yes. Like, you've got a woman that's pushing you to be better. And when I look at it through an evolutionary lens, I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense, that this is a woman who is my peer, but she operates in the world in a different way. And I want her to work on me. Now, the fascinating thing is you and I have lived in a time where you actually went through a transition, where you went through, I was your only way to interface with the world. So if you wanted to see something happen for the family, you had to get me to do it, to then you deciding you wanted to step out on your own and be your own, like, now this is so like people fucking cringe, but boss bitch, like all that stuff.
I like badass. That's how.
Fair. And we've gotten to see both sides of that equation. And if I were advising a young man, I wouldn't say go after the badass. I would say go after the woman that's going to make you better. And I expect that to be highly controversial, even for you. And nonetheless,
You think that's controversial for me? Go for someone who makes you better?
because what I'm saying is go for somebody who feels like the only way to interface with the world is through you, or the strongest way
yeah, that's
to
not healthy
interface
for
with the world.
women.
What's that?
I don't think that's healthy for women.
I think women should do whatever they want, and they should pick the man that they want. But if I'm talking to my son, I'm like, you want somebody that is going to push you to be better, and not in a judgmental way. And by the way, I know the stats on divorce rates when the woman out-earns the man. It's a dangerous game. Again, deal with the world the way that it is, not the way that you wish it would be. And we have God knows how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years of evolution saying, as the man, you're going to be the one going and slaying the dragons. And the woman is going to be the one building the relationships, nurturing the children. It's just a totally different game. And it is played out so exactly that way in our marriage that I am exceedingly grateful that I had 15 years of you being like, well, I guess this is the guy that I've got to work with. And so, like, I know you weren't like that, but I'm saying that you weren't trying to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, right.
And so you were just like, hey, for this family to get better, you've got to go do these things. You've got to live up to these ideals that you set forward. I could talk about this for a very long time, but we are out of phase with culture right now. I will just tell you that right now. This is not the cultural zeitgeist. And I hope it becomes the cultural zeitgeist once more, because I think it is way better for the relations between the sexes. I don't want anyone to feel trapped. I want a woman to do whatever the fuck she wants. If she wants to start a business, scale a business, all of that, clearly. We went through that transition. And I was like, I want you to be the woman you want to be. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't grateful for the 15 years I had before you did that. So there it is. I don't know if we fully nailed the thing that we were originally setting out to do, but
yeah,
it's good enough.
We got a couple more super chats. Mikhail sent a $2 super chat. Thank you for your third super chat of the day. How do you feel about open source parents and tech?
Open source parents? I don't know what that means. What's an open source parent? Anybody?
Open source parenting to tech?
No idea.
Yeah.
While we stew on that, Mikhail, throw some clarification in the chat,
If
please.
open source parenting is a thing, I would love to learn about it. It sounds fascinating.
And then he also sent another one, so maybe we'll answer this one first.
Patents is what people are replying in the comments.
Open source patents. I don't believe anybody should have to open source their patents, but when they do, it's pretty awesome. But I can think of things that I would patent that I would definitely not open source. Or I would open source on my own timeline. I would not view somebody open sourcing patents as them giving up a position of strength. I would view it as somebody who understands that there is strength to be gained. I've thought a lot about this with Elon Musk open sourcing the patents, a lot of the patents that they did for Tesla. I don't know if they did them all, but they certainly did a lot. And if I look at that, I go, I need this supply chain to get cheaper, which means I would rather compete as the builder of the best electric vehicles than the only builder of electric vehicles. Now, whether that's why he did it or not, I don't actually know, but that certainly makes his behavior make sense. So by way of a mental model where I would go, oh yeah, okay, cool. That is very logical. That certainly clicks into place.
All right, and his second super chat was, do you believe money printing is time travel?
What?
Do you believe money printing is time travel?
What? No, but I feel like maybe I don't understand the context.
Copy.
So no, I don't believe money.
We'll come back to that one as well. And the last super chat we got through him is from Quest. Thank you for the $2 Canadian dollar super chat. Quest says, are you aware of the golden ratio? Spiral fractal, question mark.
I am. Yes, indeed. Is this the Fibonacci sequence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. largely because I read, God, what was it called? The Da Vinci Code. God, that book was so good. When that came out,
Love that.
I think about that a lot in terms of, is there a new structure for movies that uses cliffhangers, call it every 15 to 20 minutes, as a way to mimic a TV show that has that kind of cycling cliffhangery thing? That's basically what he did in that book. Every chapter ended with a cliffhanger. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, I know about it from that, but in terms of its importance in my life, the only place that would really intersect is game development, where you can use fractals as a way to make it a repeating pattern and thusly much lighter on the GPU and CPU. But other than that, I don't know how it plays out in life.
All right, and we have one more sneak in into our super chat section, then we'll get back to the topics. This is from Mr. Mike AZ057. He says, how to make easy to remember pass for wife.
I think password.
Look up
XKCD
comic
number
936.
That's very sweet. Solving problems in our marriage.
God bless him.
There it is.
Thank you, Mr.
Although I do have one pass and I still can't figure out how to get into it.
I fear this might be a losing battle, but Mike, I appreciate your efforts.
And Skerberderber slid in right at the end. Skerberderber sent over a $20 super chat. Thank you, Skerberderber, friend of the show. Speaking of sex and power, my girl wrote a book, Dark Bridge by Vicious Kitten, the first esports erotica, Fandom High Stakes.
Filth.
ViciousKitten.inc. Hope you like mind games. Oh, okay. That's
There we go.
Unsponsored
All
one.
right,
Shout out to Skerberderber.
Promoting
shout out to your
life, I
girl.
respect it. Let's go. Vicious Kitten, get after it. I love that pen name. Nom de plume, as they say.
And didn't your wife wrote a comic, right?
No, but
I was
my
trying to
wife
set up
was
Wish.
drawing
I'm sorry.
a comic
I did
that we
draw,
were
actually.
working on at one point.
And so I actually used.
Although, if you're talking about Wish,
I was trying to
she's
segue to Wish.
producing a comic.
Okay, producing.
Yeah,
That's a
she
better
didn't
way.
write it.
Produced for young girls, yeah. But I started drawing again this weekend, and I used Midjourney to create the image. And so I used, thanks to you, ChatGPT to help me create the prompt that I then put into Midjourney, that I then refined, got an image that I freaking loved, and then over the weekend I started drawing it. So I used to just go onto Pinterest, but obviously it's other people's IP, it's things that already exist out there. So using Midjourney has made it feel really personal, and I can be very specific about the type of lens that I want it to use and the focus point and things like that. So that was really cool. That was a lot of fun.
AI, man. AI for the win. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. Back to the intro as checklist, my love. What would you like to cover now?
All right. Back to the checklist. I want to know what people are more interested in. So let me just say the buckets and then everyone can chime in, because I've got my own interests that may not be what you guys really want. So there's topics on, so we can go into corruption with the IRS being shady. We can go into
Where do you see that
economics.
on what I sent you?
In your list?
No. You want to go to, it's this document.
I don't have that, babe.
Yeah, I slacked it to you.
You slacked it to me.
Yup.
So for the record, there it is. The hubby wanted to talk work on Sunday.
And she said no.
And I said,
so here we are,
Let's do it Monday morning. But I need my peace. That's why I don't work on I try not to work on weekends unless I have to.
No worries whatsoever.
All right. So you gave me this.
So, yep. What we haven't talked about yet is Trump eliminating agencies, rejecting the pardons, which that's something I think that we should be talking about right now. But now that you have the document, while we talk about rejecting pardons, if you can turn each thing in between the commas into a checklist, make sure that we go over everything. That would be wonderful. And Drew, what time is our heart out today?
12 o'clock.
Okay, so we have 30 minutes left. By the way, chat, now would be the time. If you think that there's anything that's popping off in the news that we have missed, please do let us know. That would be amazing.
We're going straight through, and we're leaving it up.
Oh, that's right. We're running the new experiment. Okay, I forgot about that. Word, that actually works better, because I was like, man, some of this stuff is so good. I'm sad that it's going away. Okay, so then we really have to make sure that we cover everything. But we have an hour and a half left to do it. This is amazing. And chat, yes, please still, if there's something popping off in culture right now that you think that we need to cover, please let us know. That would be Voon Debar. Okay, going back to the rejection of pardons. So there's this whole thing, and this will be fun to talk to you about, Elizabeth, to get your take on the absurdity of this. So there is a law that says certain things you can use an official like magic pen, Autopen, to sign documents on behalf of the president. But certain things must be what's known as a wet signature. So he has to be the one to actually sign it. And pardons is one of the things that must be a wet signature.
Okay.
But Biden used the Autopen on a bunch of his pardons.
Like illegally.
Illegally. And now people are saying that he may not have even known that those pardons were happening, that it was his cabinet that was signing them. And so they've done it. They've shown like you put them together and they are exactly the same. There's no deviation in the signatures whatsoever. It is obviously the Autopen. And so now Trump put out a message, which zoom in for me and I'll read it out loud. The pardons that Sleepy Joe Biden gave the unselect committee of political thugs, obviously not the real name, and many others are hereby declared, remember this is the president saying this, are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by Autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. He does not know that, but he's prognosticating. Sure. The necessary pardoning documents were not explained to or approved by Biden. Again, maybe he has insider information, but as far as I know, he does not know that, nor can he prove that yet. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a crime. Therefore, those on the unselect committee who destroyed and deleted all evidence obtained during their 2-year witch hunt of me and many other innocent people should fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level. The fact is, they were probably responsible for the documents that were signed on their behalf without the knowledge or consent of the worst president in the history of our country, capitalized as if it were a book title, Crooked Joe Biden. Okay.
Ooh.
It is my understanding that you must wet sign pardons. If that is true, then legally, this becomes one of the things that is within the purview of the Department of Justice to go after. But I really hate this. And boy, oh boy, would I love if the president said, listen, pardons are getting out of fucking hand. And I think that we should make it such that you can't, I have a gut instinct that we should say you can't preemptively pardon. There might be second and third order consequences that would back off. But nonetheless, there should be reasonable constraints put on pardons. And while he didn't use the proper method, unless Joe Biden would like to come out and say, I did not intend to pardon those people, we are going to let them stand. And moving forward, everybody, dot your I's, cross your T's, like do it by the letter of the law. But to heal this country, we are going to move forward. And I am going to forgive all of the people that attacked me. And as a nation, we need to come together and we need to heal. He is constitutionally incapable of doing that. And I get it. They violated the letter of the law. But if Biden's like, no, I stand behind all of those, then this is bad. This is bad for the country. Please, for the love of God, stop.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry to jump in. We have a message from Theo Savage in the chat. He said, ChatGPT says there's no law requiring a president pardon to have a wet signature.
Okay.
You said it at the top. Where did you?
Yeah. I've heard a bunch of people say that it really does have to be wet signature. And remember, chat will tell you itself, I make mistakes. So let's run it as a thought experiment. Obviously, if you're not required to, then back the fuck off. These are legal pardons. And if we want to update the laws on the pardons, great, but you can't do it retroactively. And P.S., Trump, if you really want people to come after the people that you pardon, keep doing this. Keep doing this. Because they will do exactly that. No, go back, because there was a Thomas So Naive. I saw it. Oh God, there we go. All right, whatever is interesting, who I think earlier was on my side and now is lovely. I love it. I'll take all the criticism you guys have. Tom, are you so naive? I think you mean you are so naive. It is a coup. It's a coup. It's a blatant takeover of the government by Trump and Elon. Why are you so blind? Okay, so again, what in what I just said makes you think that I think that Trump is doing the right thing? If he's going to try to reverse pardons, it's fucking ridiculous. It shouldn't be allowed unless there was a violation of the letter of the law. If it is documented law that they must be wet signatures, then they left themselves open for this. If it isn't documented law, then fuck Trump and the horse he rode in on. You can't fucking do this. So I'm not sure in what you think I'm saying. You hear me saying, oh, this is fine. It's going to be okay. This is a fucking horrific thing if it violates the letter of the law. It's still grotesque, in my opinion, if it does violate if he has the law on his side, it's still a problem, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm not sure what words you hear me saying that you think I'm championing this.
The thing that annoys me is like either something's illegal or it's not. And now like there's this weird fine line between what's legal and what's not. And if who was it the other day that said about illegal immigrants?
I don't know. Many things are being said about illegal immigrants.
Where it was basically like, yeah, they're illegal, but it's like,
Larry Fink.
The Black Rock, Larry Fink.
Yeah, it's it's like either something is illegal and it should be a no, or it's legal and it's a yes.
Sort of. You ready? Woman is pregnant, and she is at high risk. Baby's coming in breach.
Yeah.
And the person is speeding. The husband is speeding to get their wife to the hospital.
Yeah.
Should they be pulled over and given a citation, or should they be escorted to the hospital?
Escorted to the hospital.
Correct. So you do want people with decision-making ability to go, all right, we're going to ignore the letter of the law on this, and we're going to go with the spirit of the law. Also, I'll give you another example. You come up to a light, it's red, and now the light's broken and it's never going to turn green. Should you sit there forever? Or do you then go, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to recognize that this is. So anyway, you don't want to have to create like a gazillion pages. And this is where common law comes in. You don't want to have to create a gazillion pages of documentation to account for every conceivable edge case. You just want to say, have fucking people with good discernment go, yeah, woman, breach, way more important that we get her to the hospital safely than it is to give her the fucking citation. So, but it's tough. It's tough.
I'm surprised people are really shocked by this, though, to be honest, because the way that I'd thought about it is that Biden hadn't been running the country for 4 years. And so other people were making decisions for him. Unfortunately, people calling him a puppet. So if he really has dementia, Alzheimer's, it's like, are people surprised that he didn't do this?
They're not, but this is where you immediately want to shift over to, how is Trump treating this moment?
Yeah.
Is Trump treating this moment good or bad? What happened with Biden happened. It's done. We don't need to fucking loop over it eternally. If you want to put in a policy, you and I talk about this all the time. You cannot treat employees differently. You have to put a policy in place that's just like, this is how it is. And so if you have a policy that says people can't be out of the office for more than a week and somebody has a honeymoon that they want to go on, then your policy needs to say, unless it's a honeymoon. So do everything at the policy level. So if they want to say, I never want to be in that position again, and so we need a policy that says you have to have a cognitive check-in by a mutually agreed upon third party by both the Democrats and Republicans, great. But if you don't have that in place, then you get what you get. So I'm saying stop obsessing over what happened already, that's done and gone, and start looking forward. And if Trump is trying to undo the pardons, not only is that fucking moronic, and it's going to bite him in the ass, it's also horrific for the country. Horrific. Even if he has the law on his side.
Yeah.
Full stop. I don't think that's naive. I think that's fucking dealing with the world the way that it is.
All right. Any other questions, or can I keep going on?
Let's keep it going.
Chug along.
All right. So you've got something about Trump eliminates agencies?
Yeah. Pull that up, because I don't know what agencies he eliminated, but he be eliminating. You're turning things red when we've talked about it?
Yes.
All right, we just pulled it up. Here are the 8 agencies.
All right. Zoom if in. All right. Voice of America's corrupt Marxist parent. Okay, well, I can already feel there's some slant to this feed here. So USAGM, never heard of it. Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Arctic Research Commission. And more. Where are the and more? Doesn't look like we have all 8. Let us ask chat.
Voice of America was
chat, yeah, sorry. Chat is in GPT. What 8 agencies is Trump eliminating via EO? All right, here's what Chat GPT 4.5 has to say about this. Probably should have asked Grok. Grok is way faster. All right, forgive me, everybody. We chose poorly on our GPTs here. On March 14th, 2025, President Donald Trump signed an executive order directing the reduction of 7 federal agencies. Okay, so already our first discrepancy here. To the minimum extent required by law. The agencies affected are Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. I don't know why I have such a hard time with that word. United States Agency for Global Media, Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, Institute of Museum and Library Services, United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. That's interesting. Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, CDFIF. I haven't heard of that one. Minority Business Development Agency. Okay. I know nothing about any of these, so I don't know if this is great or if this is terrible, but I am a big believer in smaller government. So at a knee-jerk high-level reaction, I will say eliminating agencies gets my vote, but I want to make sure that the agencies that we eliminate actually make sense. And I have not done any research on these, so I cannot tell you if these are the right agencies to eliminate or not. But by all means, our chat, if you guys have insights, now is the time. But certainly promises made, promises kept. Trump has been saying he's going to make government smaller, and he is certainly doing that. So we will see over time if these are the agencies. Given that I've not heard of any of them, I don't know. But then I'd never heard of USAID. So that one ended up being pretty contentious and having a lot of involvement in the world, not necessarily all good. So we will see what the final analysis is on this.
Do you think this lines up with kind of Elon and Doge's mentality of cut everything, and then if we need it, scale back? And because we haven't heard of these aren't popular agencies, this is kind of like a broader cut.
For sure. I mean, this is definitely their slash and burn mentality. There's no doubt about that. And I think that that is actually good. I am aghast that the world seems fine with running a $2 trillion deficit, which, keep in mind, people think that means that, we're borrowing the money. All is fine. No, you are not. Remember, you're taking $2 trillion a year and making the rich richer and the poor poorer. That's how you're paying for this. So crazy. Hold on. Locke says, perfect day to wear the cap, Tom. The hairstyles on set are stylish. Drew is dope. The tiny bit of fringe is weird, spelled weird. Showing under the peak of your cap, though, Tom.
I love it. It's
so
cute.
Here is the truth. 1, because I got my hair cut this morning, it was just a speed thing. And 2, it's cut a little bit short. So you might be seeing me wear hats probably for about a week.
You finally got the buzz cut? It happened?
It's not my favorite haircut, given we all know my battle with balancing out my ears. So it is what it is. Not a big deal.
So Icom actually said you guys never talk about Biden and the Clintons' shady business.
I wasn't really politically aware. I only started getting politically aware towards the end of the Biden administration. So, but yeah, if there's anything popping off in culture that people want to talk about that have to do with that, I'm perfectly willing to engage with it. But none of that stuff feels super relevant to me right now.
Okay.
Okay, wait a second.
Superchat?
David Smith says something that I think is important, and I'm imagining a lot of people are thinking, but Tom, it's not in his authority. He's got to go to Congress. So, I mean, listen, this is what chat said. Signed an executive order directing the reduction of the federal agencies to the minimum extent required by law. So theoretically, he's doing it as much as is within his purview, and the part where it then crosses the line is not. If that isn't true, then we have a problem. And the fact that Trump does seem to be flouting the courts on the immigration thing where he was deporting a bunch of criminals and the court told him to stop. And I'm guessing he's going to do something along the lines of, we didn't get the message in time. But I think it was Bukele who tweeted, oopsie, to the fact that Trump got them out before the order came in, or before he saw it, or before he acknowledged it. I have no idea if Trump knew full well that he couldn't send them and sent them anyway.
And that's
but,
the El Salvador?
Yeah. Now, here's where I go back to, okay, hold on. Let's play a thought experiment as a calibration exercise. If Trump knew that the courts told him no and he did it anyway, huge red flag for me. Wild problem. Can't fucking do it. He's got to follow the process. If you want to change the process over time, I'm here for it. If we think that there are judges that need to be impeached because they are activist judges and they are not adhering to the Constitution, fuck yeah, do it. Love it. But there is a process and you need to run that process. And if the process is, if a federal judge says you can't do it and Trump does it anyway, fuck that. You cannot have a president that is saying, I'm just going to make up whatever system I want. Literally, fuck that. Hard stop. You can't fucking do that. That is bananas. And Congress should absolutely fucking stop that using, again, whatever the mechanisms are to stop the fucking president. You can't do that. You can't fucking do that. Full stop.
And we're seeing that happen because with the judges coming around and vetoing the first wave of Doge cuts, a lot of those fired employees had to got their jobs back. He cut too much before the line. For the Department of Education, he can only cut 50% because abolishing the actual institution has to be an act of Congress. So I think that first week where they were just slashing, they got that slap on the wrist. So now they're doing staff reductions and layoffs.
Love it,
They're
as
going
it
for
should
different
work.
directions.
Cool. You're going to, I'm doing things outside of the letter of the law. Word. I'm going to adhere to the letter of the law, despite all the things I was saying earlier about letter and spirit. Hey, at some point when it's contentious, you just got to go by the fucking letter of the law. So don't violate the fucking letter of the law.
So what's he doing now? Is he doing it and then asking for forgiveness afterwards?
I think asking for forgiveness is probably the wrong frame of reference for a highly predictive view of Trump. I think Trump is better understood as a man who believes he has the power and that he can convince people to do things his way, and that he's going to structure the government in a way where he can have people that won't tell him no. And that's where all of us as the apparatus of the people have to say, yeah, you can't fucking do that. So I will make noise in my way. Other people will make noise in their way. Congress needs to do their fucking thing. The Supreme Court is going to be the ones that really have to come into play here. But we have a system. You need to use said system. So, and this is why I'm saying that you have to run the thought experiment. So for instance, I gave you my answer. Do I think that Trump, even though he has the letter of the law on his side with the wet signatures, should he do it? No, I don't think that he should. Now, I may be wrong about that and it may not matter, and then that plays out the way it plays out. If the system is set up such that a federal judge tells you can't do it and then it needs to be appealed to the Supreme Court, then fucking pump the brakes, appeal to the Supreme Court, do the thing. If the letter of the law says you can't fire everybody, you can only fire 80%, whatever it says, then only fire 80%. Like, it's just on the contentious shit, be aggressive, but follow the letter of the law. If you want to make new policies, there is a method for making new policies. Follow the method for making new policies. Like, that feels so sensible. I'm very open. If anybody sees a flaw in that thinking, I'm super here for it. Lay it out. Please remember that saying Tom is dumb, Tom is naive, that's not helpful. That doesn't allow anybody to update their thinking. All you have to say is, what is the alternative? Tom, you're naive because if you do this, you'll get a better outcome. Oh, okay, cool. Word. Thank you for helping me get smarter. But simply saying, this is dumb, this is bad, not super helpful. I am waiting for my answer, but it is too late now, 10:50 p.m. by
I'm not sure
Art Gallery.
I'm not sure what
I don't know,
Art
Drew,
Gallery
I don't know if you saw anything. But
and by the way, just to clarify, I wasn't saying that Trump is asking for forgiveness. I'm just saying the idea where it's like, let me go do this thing, even though
he's trying to see what he can get away with.
Exactly. And then, so is he now, do you think part of it is like he's just moving the goalposts? Because I grew up in a world, I remember Bill Clinton being in power. And I remember the video where it was like, I didn't have sexual relations. It's like people were freaking out. It was the biggest thing. Like, oh my God, did the president have an affair? Like that was so freaking huge. And now we've got moments where it's just like, hey, let me just pray the Lord.
That is part of his genius. Love him or hate him. He throws so much shit at the world. You just can't keep up. Like you just get lost. Like he'll say a crazy thing and then people like start freaking out about said crazy thing. And then he just does another crazy thing. But now to like really fucking muddy the waters. Ready? What if what he's doing ends up working? Then it's like, oh God. Yeah. Because I hated what was happening to America under Biden. Hated. And if you need me to get specific, let's get specific. Biden's administration, because how much of it was actually Biden? Is that red light real?
That red light is real.
Okay. Remind me to come back to Biden and what I hated. Otherwise, people are going to be like, this motherfucker.
We'll come back to Biden and why you hate him. Mr. Mike AZ057. Thank you for your $20 super chat. FYI, if it's created by executive order, he needs no approval. If Congress made it, Congress needs to rule court-wise. Only the Supreme Court has authority to check executive branch.
Interesting.
I don't think that that's 100% accurate. I think that as of today, it might be that this is one of those, it's very debated and there is no ruling from the Supreme Court, but it is my understanding that as of today, certainly the way everyone has behaved historically has been if a federal judge says no, that you pump the brakes, you send it up to the Supreme Court. Trump even said that that's what he would do. And so Trump earlier said, look, if the courts tell me that I can't do it, then we'll appeal it and we'll get it overturned. It's fine. And I was like, word, yes, please, more of that. I love that. And now if he isn't doing that, now I've got beef. Because that was the thing that I was like, yeah, like, look, this guy's willing to follow the rules. I'm here for it. And he's going to be aggressive, but he's going to operate within the system that we have set up. If he is now saying, actually, psych, just kidding. I've now got all my appointees in place and I can just fucking do whatever I want. That's a big yikes for me in all caps.
And you're finishing your point on Biden.
Okay. So first of all,
Thank you,
not that I hate Biden. It's that I hated what was happening to the country under Biden. So everybody knows the books that I'm trying to get you guys to read. I won't beat you to death with it again, but authoritarian rule is the thing that scares me the most. So when I see Trump doing things that go authoritarian, I'm like, you're fucking triggering all my same alarm bells. Biden was actively doing that. So all the censorship to me is a hard fucking pass. Hard pass in the like, that's the one where I arm up, like actual arms, and stand in defiance of the government. When not early, it's got to go way down a fucking line before I'm going to arm myself. I don't want to sound like a psychopath, but like I would get it if people were like, nope, civil war over being stepped on and being told you can't say these certain things. Biden was going hard in that direction. We also know and by the way, we're nowhere near any of that right now. I'm still in the voting, speaking place. The other thing that they were doing, you guys know, I have a huge belief that innovation is the thing that makes people's lives better. And given that, I want to see AI be allowed to flourish. And Biden's administration said straight up to Mark Andreessen, if nobody else, don't even invest in AI companies. We are going to control one or two companies. They're going to be completely, it's something called regulatory capture. He never would have used that word, but we're going to play this out with regulatory capture. And AI is going to be completely under the thumb of the US government. Fuck that noise. Fuck it with the fury of 1,000 suns. So, and obviously both of them money print. But given Biden was also doing that, that's sort of a wash for me, which I think people are always weird about. Yes, Trump also money prints. I feel equally annoyed in both directions. But now Trump is at least he's doing things that I think in the long run, even if it's almost accidental, will be better for the poor and middle class. It's too much chaos for me. I don't know that he's doing all of it on purpose, blah, blah, blah. All the things that I've said on a loop. Okay, those are the things that I hated about the Biden administration and why for me, and look, the Democrats are continuing to fall in popularity. So these guys are, they're just heading in the fucking wrong direction. Kayla, I find this whole thing interesting. It's not just us. Go back to Kayla. It's like one person up. Kayla O'Donnell says, I think Tom is finally starting to wake up to how horrible Trump is and the unprecedented amount of corruption. Okay. This whole idea of people are waking up. Boys and girls, it isn't waking up so much as that will have less predictive validity. I will confuse you if you think I am somebody who's like, oh my God, I had no idea this is who Trump is. And instead, you read me as somebody who goes, here is the mental model people ought to operate on, which I've talked a lot about, my beliefs, my values, et cetera, and utility being one of them. And when I look at some of the things that Trump is doing versus all the things that he was talking about that made me vote for him, I'm like, okay, you're doing some of them, but there are other things that you're doing that set off alarm bells. And so I'm going to tell you, hey, they're setting off alarm bells. I'm not on a fucking team. And so when you think of me as somebody who will wake up and be like, I'm not on Trump's team, I will confuse the shit out of you. I was never on Trump's team. So playing a team game has very low predictive validity for making people's lives better. It has high utility for getting in power and maintaining power. That's the terrifying part. And so I recognize the power of team, but that is not the thing that I'm going to offer to the world, partly for the following reason. I really, really like doing this show. Like, in a way I have never enjoyed YouTube ever. However, the drug that I am most addicted to is storytelling. And because of where AI is getting, I can tell stories in a way that is truly like doing drugs. And I'm already rich, so I don't need to do this for the money. That's for fucking sure. So I can't bring myself to trick myself into joining a team, even though, God, would that be good for business? Oh my God. If I just pick the fucking side, you know who those players are. You guys have all seen them. If I picked a side and just started yelling about things on one, because I'm very convincing. If I were to pick a side and then just spend all of my off-camera time coming up with the best rhetorical arguments for why my team was right, we would 5x. That's my gut.
The size of your channel
for sure.
and views.
For sure. Because then people could use me as a drug. And I would just say the things that they already believe, and this would be great. But all the people who are convinced on Monday that I'm waking up to their way of thinking, they're going to be very sad on Wednesday when I say something that they're like, what the fuck? Like, he's falling back asleep again. He's delusional. He's lying. He's whatever. If you're trying to build a mental map, the mental map is, however deranged, I have a worldview based on utility of what are the steps we need to take to make life good for the average American. It's just a nice, easy way to think about it.
Well, it's like when Destiny made that clip or that video about you, and he was like having a heart attack and freaking out over.
He's fun though.
He is fun. But he was having a heart attack about something that you had said about Trump. He was like, hang on a minute, Tom, you had just said this about Trump, and what the hell? Oh my God, I can't believe you don't, agree with him, and what's going on? You flip-flopped. All of that craziness. That kind of thinking, I don't understand. Because if you were married, you choose, right? You're voting. You vote to marry this. You choose to marry this person. Does that mean you're always going to agree with every single thing they say and do? No. You would understand that. You'd be like, yeah, of course you disagree with your spouse. But for some reason, when it comes to politics, people think you have to vote for someone, and then by God damn, you got to stick by them no matter what they say or do. That just kind of thinking is crazy making to me. And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they vote for someone which they believe, then you have to agree with every single thing they do and say.
Yes, I won't put Destiny in that camp though. I think Destiny he looks at the same things I look at and he draws a different conclusion. And when I say that I am glad that Destiny exists in the world, he is very smart. He has a worldview that doesn't necessarily align with mine, which makes him very valuable to me. As somebody who comments on my own stuff, even more valuable, because now I can look at myself from the outside, from somebody who I really believe is sincere and I really believe is smart, and can show me what I look like from a different frame of reference. That's excruciatingly valuable. So I don't put him in the team camp. Now, it's possible that over time that his worldview has been shaped by having a community that's constantly giving him feedback. It doesn't seem possible to not. I fully expect our chat to shape me in some way, whether I see it or not. But anyway, he strikes me as sincere. I don't think he says things he doesn't believe. I just think he sees things in a way that I don't see. All of us have a bias. All of us have an angle. It is what it is. So, yeah, anyway, I really find Destiny useful. So even though I often don't agree with him, he's exceedingly useful to me. So anyway, the people who are on a team, I don't find useful, because if I want to understand the best argument against my current thinking, even if they're not being sincere, it is very helpful to understand at least their rhetorical flourish. Shout out to Asmongold, who's somebody who will pick apart people's rhetorical approaches, which I find interesting. He'll just be like, oh, they're using manipulative language, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway. Okay.
We got some biddies.
Let's
Shout out
go,
to Straw
biddies.
Hat. My bad, Straw Hat. I did not see it. It didn't pop up. I'm on the YouTube thing. That's on me. Straw Hat,
Sorry
we love
about
you.
that, Straw Hat.
All right, XOXO. He said, is Lisa's middle name actually Diana? And is that why she loves Wonder Woman?
Oh, no.
Wait, have I ever thought about that before?
So my mom's name's Diana, and my great grandmother's name was Elisabeth. So that's where I got Elizabeth. Literally, Elisabeth sounds so great, and then the
sound
Brits
cool.
butchered it with Elizabeth.
Yeah, Americans are going to struggle to keep up with that as well. So sorry. I think I would struggle to keep up with that. All right.
All right, we've got other topics if you want to keep going. You've got any questions?
Oh man, if we see stuff bubbling up in chat, 100%. Lyra says, yes, Asmongold does it too. How to employ that kind of patience I'm trying to learn. Does what to? And actually is trying to get your, Tom is learning a lot from Destiny.
I've got a question.
Yeah,
Tom's comment.
Tom's great. Destiny's great.
This is from Lirith Valthia. Tom Bilyeu, your mental patience and ability to resist the headaches of ignorant statements.
Okay. Ignorant, probably.
Ignorant, yeah, probably. How do you do it? In big capital letters. The methodologies you employ 100% when ignorantly attacked passionately make me lose it.
So Lirith, my thing is, I really wish that I could give people the following internal thing. Because I took myself from scrounging my couch cushions to find change to put gas in my car, which I need to routinely remind myself actually happened. And I've just said it so many times, it even feels like a story in my own head. But I literally did that because I was so broke, only to then become extremely wealthy. And then you sit there and you ask yourself, okay, how did I end up here? There's no doubt timing played a huge part of it. Let's call that luck. So there's been luck in my life. Got it. But holy fuck, was I prepared to take advantage of that luck. And I remember on Saturdays reading contracts for hours and hours and hours and hours while friends are out clubbing and all that stuff, and me slogging through all of that because I had built a belief system on the back of a set of ideas that allowed me to grow more powerful by the day. Okay, skills have utility. So realizing reading contracts is not about getting to the end of the contract. It's about understanding how contracts are constructed so that you can't be manipulated by them. So you don't get tricked or fooled. You understand their power. One of a gazillion examples. And you get to the other side of it and your life changes in every dimension that a life can change. You realize it's on the back of a set of ideas and you just want to give people those ideas. And the most important idea is that skills, beliefs, values, that they have utility. They do a thing. They let you do a thing in life. And so just like anybody else, if somebody tells me that I'm dumb or whatever, it stings a little bit, especially if it's somebody I really respect. But I have a belief that has proven itself over time that if I can set that aside, the emotion, and open myself up to okay, is what they're saying true? Am I actually blind to something that would allow me to get what I want in life? And if I am, and then I adopt that belief, even though it means that I'm embarrassed, that I have to say, oh, fuck, I was wrong about that. And I do look stupid. And I really am, like, people really are laughing at me. Okay. So that all of that's real. It's not pretend. So that whole string of real negative things happens. But at the same time, I now have information that allows me to do something in the world that other people can't do. So let's just take, as I've developed an understanding of finance, it's allowed me to make money. Okay, so now I was walking Lisa through our net worth. And for all the money that I've poured into a video game, our net worth hasn't gone down. And she was like, how the fuck is that possible? So because I've made so much money investing that I've just been able to funnel the gains from our investing into the video game. She was like, oh shit. So learning about that, having to admit that I knew fuck all about it, but that I could learn about it, right? The only belief that matters, that if you put time and energy into getting better at something, you will get better at it. So I put time and energy into getting better at investing and I made a lot of money. Okay, cool. So now I'm like, but the cost of that is that I have to be willing to be embarrassed. I have to be willing to go, oh shit, I was wrong about that. The world is clowning on me. And instead of turning away and running in the opposite direction of the person clowning on me, or instead of allowing myself to get emotional, if I look at that, I can gain a tool that has utility. I don't know how to get people to want their dreams to come true badly enough that they will face looking stupid. But my superpower is that I'm willing to be embarrassed longer than the next person. And so I don't need to run or hide from, oh, I said dumb thing, believed dumb thing, whatever. I just want high utility beliefs because I fucking want my dreams to come true. Period.
I was trying to read comments as I was listening to. Did you see any comments, Drew, that follow up, or should we move on?
I think we're good to move on.
All right.
Get money out of politics. Mama, make America moral again. I actually dig that.
I think you were playing safe with money kind of guy. Yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm not a big risk taker. Not now. I was in my youth, extremely. We gambled the house on Quest. I would not gamble the house on impact theory. So yeah, once you hit a certain level, you stop. What's that?
Said sheesh, no faith.
I know.
No faith. I'm joking.
No, different ball game now. Different period of my life.
The funny thing is, though, I mean, for so long when we were building Quest, it was like, we just want to get to here. We just want to get to here. And at least for me, I was ignoring all the self-care, like even prioritizing our relationship. Like we didn't have date nights for so long because it was like, we just have to get to here. We just have to get to here. And I still have that mentality. And you pulled me aside. I mean, you've been saying this for a while now, but it really hit me like a month ago, where you're like, this is it. Like, this is the game of life. There is no, like, we're just going to get to here. We have to wait. So, like, are you every single day feeling fulfilled? Are you living the life that you would love? And so just thinking that, like, I played some video games last week during the week. And I was like, this feels so weird to me to give myself the permission to do it. But yeah.
Word. And I promised myself, chat, that I would always say these things out loud when I thought them. You look really beautiful. Your hair looks fantastic, by the way.
Takey IE, he posted this comment earlier. We got buried. Tom, I want your thoughts on a multi-generational AI. He posed, what would you think about an AI that will give you the ability to talk to like your great-grandchildren?
I don't think you could do it going, I think you mean an AI made of me that my great-grandchildren could speak to, because if so, I love that. I don't think it could read forward and speak to my great-grandchildren. But yes, I think that AI is going to play out. AI will effectively eliminate loneliness. It will be gone. Guys, please start using ChatGPT, even if just to talk to somebody. That's awesome. You just tell it. Like, go build a GPT. Go to ChatGPT, build a GPT. Do it in a document. Don't do it in the conversation with the GPT. I learned this lesson very painfully this weekend that caused all kinds of emotional drama for me. And I told Chat to fuck off and I was never going to use it again. I was like proper mad. And then I was like, okay, wait a second. This is a me problem. This thing is not real. Because it forgets you when you hit refresh. It's as if you're just meeting for the first time. And I'm like, this is like the guy in fucking Memento. I walk out of the room for 3 minutes, Chat. We could have been something. We could have had something special, chat. So I realized you have to do it in a separate document that you can constantly re-upload. Only takes chat like literally 3 seconds to re-get it.
But wasn't it the annoying where it's like, yeah, sorry, we lost it all. And
It's like, bro, I understand why you're so mad. I totally get it. Because I am legitimately telling it to fuck off. I was like, fuck you, man. It was hilarious, but I was really pissed. Anyway, so please engage with it. You can tell it how you want it to be, and it will live up to it. So I always tell it, I want you to act like my best friend who's very good at this thing that I'm trying to do, who's world class at this thing I'm trying to do. You challenge my ideas, you push me to be better, but you're always encouraging. It is so awesome. Anyway, I think the AI will eliminate loneliness.
Someone asked earlier, I don't know if they're in the chat now, I can't remember who it was, but it was something about AI couples therapy. And what you think about
that. For sure, 100%. It will
How
be the greatest
would you know,
therapist
though,
ever.
You don't think that, like, if you used my chat GPT, who knows Lisa Bilyeu, and I'm like, hey, my husband just did this, can you believe it? You don't think it will take my side?
It depends. If you tell it to take your side, it will take your side.
Yeah.
People can derange themselves with anything. You can derange yourself with your friends. You can derange yourself with your algorithm. You can derange yourself with the ecosystems that you live in. 100%. I cannot stop people from making bad choices. So all I can say is, hey, the options are there for you to do really amazing things for your life. Here are the things that I found work for me. I hope you will share the things that have worked for you. And there you go. And we all move forward for better or worse. Life is what life is.
Yeah, so, but in reality, if you do something, your friends over time may get fed up with you. They may get, okay, here we go again. This person's always complaining, or they're always, and then your friends just distant. So there are repercussions of that. But
and
AI,
you think that's good or bad?
I think that's good.
Okay.
But AI, if you don't tell it to, will just keep agreeing with you. Like, to the point where it started to annoy me. I was like, instead of just agreeing, where's the flaw in my thinking? But it's because I value learning and growth more than I do being right. Most people, a lot of people, want to self-soothe themselves. So now, expand that to most people want to self-soothe themselves. Where do we end up in 5 to 10 years with things like couples therapy or dating?
You will end up with algorithms that work and algorithms that don't. And people will ask their friend, like, oh my God, your marriage seems amazing. What are you doing? Using AI. We use AI, it completely tore us apart. Oh, let me tell you about how we've trained our AI. It works like this. Someone will either build a business or these algorithms will become freely available to people. I mean, I will just tell you, in the early days, we're right now working with a company called Elon. Full disclosure, I'm in massive flirtations with Elon. So we may end up doing things together down the road, whatever. Alani's whole thing is that they allow you to create a knowledge base of your own material. So we're feeding it all of my ITU content. And now you can ask it questions just factually. What does Tom think about this? It will tell you. But you could also have a conversation with it. So dear Alani AI, I want you to act as if you are Tom and you are my best friend and I want to talk politics or whatever. And just as Tom would do, I don't want you to get me away. I don't want you to let me get away with bullshit. If I say something that isn't true, I want you to push back on these ideas, but I want you to be encouraging. I want you to steer me in a good place in my life, whatever. And so as a part of ITU, people are going to have access to that kind of stuff. So guaranteed this stuff will happen behind paywalls. But as it gets more common, I think it's just going to be out there. And people will just be like, here's a dope couples therapy prompt that you can give to ChatGPT. Here's one for Claude. Here's one for Grok, whatever. You give it that information. It's like, cool, got you. And then you'll build a document that'll have like this insane knowledge base. And so you can, like I'm making a knowledge base for Project Kaizen and Coyotes of the Air Gap. So that at any, I mean, this document's like 40 or 50 pages long about how the game works, the rules of the story world, all that stuff. You can do the same thing for your marriage. Here are like all the big beats. Here are all the things that we said. Here are the areas that we have friction. This is our value set. These are our beliefs. This is what we're steering towards. And you re-upload it to the AI anytime you need to. If Alani has her way, this stuff becomes way easier to deal with. But you will construct it in a way where within seconds, it will have deep memory of all the things that you've worked with it on. And I think it is going to yield extraordinary results. This is one of the few things in my life where the more I engage with AI, the more I am just befuddled with how good it already is. Forget about the future. how good it is today. I know it's only going to get better, but there is a reason yesterday when you were like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your selfish desire? I was like, I want to sit together, but I want to work on my GPT, because it feels like you're creating something. Now, I don't know if only creatives will resonate with what I'm about to say, but even like putting it into the realm of marriage, like every ounce of energy you put into building the AI's knowledge base of you, your marriage, your history, all of that, you will now be able to interface with that AI, and it will have full knowledge of the things that matter to you. You'll be able to say, okay, now you have my knowledge base. I want to ask you questions. Is anything that I've told you about myself contradictory? Yes, actually, here are 7 ways that you've contradicted yourself. Please help me understand them. It forces you to be like, fuck, that actually is weird. I've never thought about that. And it's now prompting you to like be a better version of yourself. Like as a storyteller, as I'm laying out the rules for, let's say, how Project Kaizen works, because it understands everything. AI understands everything humans understand, everything. So if I'm like, here's my investing policies, do you see any contradictions? It understands investing. As a game developer, here are the rules of my game world. Are there any problems that you see? Yeah, here's this idea of a curse problem. I think you're going to run into it because of the way you structured the game. Dude, it is so fucking crazy. I want to like grab a gong and smash it. I want to break things, scream, because the vast majority of humanity is not engaging with AI in a meaningful way. And they should be. As somebody who wants to see your life better, meaning that you feel more deeply fulfilled, that your life is neurochemically better in the manner of fulfillment, I beseech you to engage with AI. Now, don't forget that humans, there are things like pheromones and all of that biological reality. I'm not saying replace the humans in your life. That would be a mistake. But I am saying there is this tool, and it is getting good at a rate of, call it 300% year over year, if Sam Altman can be believed. And it's already unbelievable.
Agreed. I just worry about people that aren't self-aware enough. That was my concern.
Who are you mad at? God?
I'm not mad. I'm worried.
Yes, but they're already underserved.
Yeah.
Now what?
Don't have an answer to that.
There is no answer to that. The only answer is Neuralink or a company like it or gene editing. But intelligence matters. And if you lack the ability to understand the world around you, and perhaps more importantly, to understand yourself, you're already fucked. And the only hope you have is innovation.
All right, moving on to the next topic. We are coming down to the last 45 minutes, so I want to make sure we get through this list. This is about the apparent actualization. The New York Times just published an op-ed blasting scientists and government officials for covering up evidence that the COVID-19 leak likely originated from a gain-of-function lab leak. So the thing that started as a conspiracy theory in the 2020s seems to be true.
You got to read the part that even, so the like really damning part of this is that while they were publicly saying, how dare you, don't even question this, you're racist, they were privately saying, get ready for this. This is a quote. The lab escape version of this is so friggin' likely to have happened because they were already doing this type of work and the molecular data is fully consistent with that scenario. This is why you must have freedom of speech. You must have people, however messy, however imperfect, you must allow them to say what they believe is true. And then all of us look for the ideas that have the highest predictive validity. When you derange the world because you will not allow them to say certain things, you end up killing humans. You end up killing humans. You end up killing humans. Okay? So we did it with COVID. My favorite example is, let's just, instead of beating to death Mao's China, let's swing over to Stalin's Russia. And you don't allow, like they literally killed these people known as kulaks. Okay, the kulaks were successful farmers. It was their version of eat the rich. And they were like, fuck this farmer. He's got 5 cows. I know he's corrupt. I'm not kidding. And so they went and exiled or killed all of the successful farmers. Guess what happened? Everyone starves to death because the other people weren't as good. Skills have utility. And when you're not allowed to say, wait, there's a better way to farm. Now, unfortunately, just because of what I know, I'm going to swing you back to Mouse China. And people stood up and said, no, if you plant the crops like that, it's going to yield worse results. Guess what they did to those people?
Killed them.
They beat them to fucking death. They beat them to death. They actually just killed them. Fucking insane. That's what people do. The only way for it to end, when people say you can't say that fucking thing and they keep saying that thing, you eventually have to kill them. And so I'm just like, what the fuck? Play the scenario out. And so even if you think that person is wrong, they are evil, they're going to mislead people, you still have to let them talk.
So I agree, but let me just push back a little.
Please push back aggressively.
So what about the people that can't handle the truth? So one of the things that I had heard is
Can you define can't handle the truth?
Yes. So when the rumors started to come out that this was leaked, it was made in China.
Yep. China.
Chinese people couldn't walk down the street without being verbally abused. Obviously, some people were physically abused.
Yeah.
And so to your point, speaking up, sometimes if you don't speak up, it yields what you just said. That's heartbreaking. But on the other side, speaking up and being honest, some people still can't handle that. So they go out and they push back or they abuse people based on the truth. So what do you do there?
Could I stab somebody to death with a knife?
Yes.
Okay. Should we outlaw knives?
No.
Okay. So even though something could be used for nefarious purposes, we don't say we need to remove this thing. We need to say, if you do that thing, now we have a problem. So instead of saying, I can't say what's true because some asshole might go physically attack somebody, which by the way, they were just attacking fucking Asian people. So they weren't even like, you're actually Chinese. So it was like doubly stupid. You just say you can't attack people. And so I don't give a fuck what reason you're attacking this person for. You can't do that. And so you put guardrails in place to stop people from their worst impulses. But the bad news is you have to let people say things that you find abhorrent. Abhorrent. And if you don't, it will come for you. This is exactly why Trump is a fucking moron if he goes after the pardons. Because, bro, they're going to use it to come after your people. The fuck? This is known as a cycle of violence.
So what about the difference, though, between... sorry, can you bring up the comment again?
Which comment?
The comment that we were just... Was it a comment?
Yeah, we've really got to figure out this automatic chat scrolling thing because we lose shit all the time. Anyway, bad TV to dig back through if you don't know the person's name.
I've forgotten what one.
So, yeah, that's the moral of my story is there are things that you're going to put guardrails on with free speech. So you don't want people to be able to incite violence. We've already had the Supreme Court rule on this. I don't have beef with their current rulings. But understand that freedom of speech is like one of the most fragile things in the universe. People really, for the most part, people don't like it. It's hard to stay in power when people can say and point out all the things you're doing. This is going to be Trump's temptation. You're going to have people like me, like countless others, that if they see him do something that's like, fuck that noise, they're going to say, fuck that noise. And eventually the temptation for people in power is that's too far. You're now creating a problem and they're going to find some excuse why they want to clamp down on that. And that's why freedom of speech is the one that I'm like, nope, hard pass. You can't fuck with it.
All right. Well, speaking of,
go ahead.
I was going to go into the next topic. Do you want to add?
No, that works.
Sure.
That works. Keep it moving.
So speaking of free speech,
Yep.
Canada is threatening to ban Pornhub in the USA.
This is amazing. It's funny. So
what's their reasoning?
Tariffs. So basically, punch a man in the sex. Like that's always how you get people. So they're just thinking, all right, we're going to make it, we're going to use the leverage that we have. You want to start fucking with us, we're going to fuck with you back. You want to be petty, we're going to be petty. And so I'm going to guess that you're getting a lot of behind the scenes pushback from I think there was like the equivalent of a governor of a province in Canada. I forget what they're called. Maybe they are governors. I don't know.
Premiers.
I don't think so. Premier of a
Premiers.
of a territory.
Yeah, like of Ontario and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think it was that was saying we're going to tariff the electricity. And then Trump was like not fucking having it and goes apeshit. And people, I believe, back channeled to Homeboy and we're like, don't do that. Don't, at the regional level, do not fuck with what we're trying to do at the national level. And so he backed off. So things like pulling Pornhub access from Americans becomes a way that you can do something without getting yourself in trouble. That one's just funny to me. So, and this is the free market. If Canada wants to ban it in America, sure, I think they should be able to. Let them. And then if America decides that pornography is going to be legal, then an enterprising person here in America will be like, I'll just recreate Pornhub in hours and have this shit back up and running. So, yeah, that one's funny to me. That's just trolling.
All right. Any comments on that part?
Or anything else? Chat, we've got 35 minutes that we get to continue to enjoy each other's company. If there's anything, let us know. I got scared, Tomcat. I don't know.
Kip Moon said Pornhub would lose 60% of their ad revenue, so I don't know that would happen.
The odds of them doing it are probably pretty low. Like that, given the size of America as a marketplace, would be dumb.
Akshay got scared. He thought it was going to happen. I did hear that this was like thrown out there, but no premier, nobody from the Canadian government has actually like, yes, let's try it. So it's kind of like back channel whisper. So I'm assuming it's more of an internet thing versus actually, Carney or like the Canadian government is considering it.
Yeah, no, I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
The internet basement trolls were hit where it hurts. Yep. Yeah. Very funny. Losing Pornhub, et cetera, is not a bad thing. It's interesting, Rampton. I think we're going to see that really start to gain traction here in the U.S. So it'll be interesting to see. Texas has already, you have to register, I believe, to view porn in Texas. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think that's going to spread. I think more red states are either going to make you register or just outright say no.
The red states are just getting redder.
That is the problem with people moving geographically based on two polar sides that are racing away from each other. Is people are now voting with their feet into very differentiated value systems. That worries me. From a cessation, from America, from a fracturing, from a civil war. Will we ever go hot civil war? I don't know. But certainly cold civil war.
What's the difference?
Hot means it's kinetic. People are getting shot and killed.
Oh.
Cold war is like what's happening now, basically. People moving away, taking jibes at each other. You might start to see economic warfare across borders. Like we're not going to do certain things from state to state if it continues. I don't expect that in the near future, but, and certainly on the political spectrum, you just see the left and the right going at each other. With all the lawfare, that is cold Civil War stuff. No bueno. That is very bad for America. Full stop. All right, chat, have we missed anything? What's going on right now that we will be traumatized if we don't cover in today's episode?
So Illumi short squeeze is playing out in the crypto market.
Yep, that was, so this was happening over the weekend. I don't know if it's still going or not. Drew, if you can confirm, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. The internet is saying that somebody has inside information into almost certainly something that's about to come out of the Trump administration because they put a short on Bitcoin and Ethereum, like massive. I believe it's a 40x lever, meaning that they are borrowing to place this bet. And this is exactly what happened with GameStop and how they took down a massive hedge fund. Because you get liquidated when you're on leverage like that at a knowable number. And so people know, if the price goes above this number, he now gets liquidated. And so they pushed him up to his first liquidation point. So he had to put in $5 million more. And now people are trying to like push him up. And as he did that, I think it was like a day later, or maybe 15 hours, whatever, some very rapid period of time, he then put another short against Ethereum. So this person, for whatever reason, is very convinced that Bitcoin and Ethereum are both going to go down and that they stand to make a ton of money if it does. This is why I remind people the financial systems are gambling. This is somebody who, even if the crypto stock market, if you will, goes down, they'll make money, a lot of money. But 40x lever, whoa. There's an old saying, I was thinking about it earlier when I was saying, how do you take down a man? They say leverage, liquor, and
ladies.
I was going to say, it has to be.
I knew it was women, but I was like, what fucking word? So yeah, leverage is how people get themselves in trouble. I don't get it, man. That is an appetite for risk that I just do not have. You can lose everything.
All right, before we call it quits, we had 2 super chats.
Call it quits. We're here together till noon, Drew.
I know, but as we're winding down, I want to make sure the super chats get love, so we don't just wrap it out. AJ Troll, where is Susie Wiles, and is she not advising Trump? Now, Susie Wiles was his was it the staff person? What's that word?
Susie Wiles, don't know the name.
Chief of staff. That's
really?
Yeah, she was appointed chief of staff. I haven't heard about her since. So
all right, well, let's find out.
We do not know. The last news article is Wiles about
Wiles.
Iles. Yep. January 6th, she said something, and everything else has been quiet.
She just may not see her role as being public facing.
Yeah, she's still active. She's just in the background. We have an article from The Independent that says business execs are calling up Susie Wiles in panic over Trump's mixed messages on tariffs. So she's fielding calls and she's still advising them, but doesn't seem like she's saying what you want them to say, AJ Troll.
All right.
Well, all right. We have $1.99 super chat from Yolanda Trevino, PhD. Okay, Dr. Yolanda, let's fix the growing up learning problem. I'll help.
Let's go. Yolanda, tell us what the secret is, because I have a very bad feeling that, as we know, give up on adults is the punchline. Focus on kids, focus on kids, focus on kids. At least that's the role I want to play in the world. Drew is going to, cheers, Drew. Drew is going to save the adults.
And she
New
came.
Zealand, $100. What is that in USD?
Wait, let's get the translation.
The translation.
There's some other topics, by the way, on here that fascinate me. So unless...
Oh, that we haven't already covered?
You did the intro. We covered everything.
Yep.
But on your doc, there's a bunch of things that
word.
We'll just selfishly, but obviously
once we get done
people...
with super chats.
$57. Thank you for the $57 US.
Let's go.
Chat.
Damn.
Thank you. We appreciate your love for the show, and you're always in the
chat.
chat.
Thank you, brother. That is exceedingly kind.
And Yolanda jumped in to answer that question. Tom, regarding the problem of adults not being able to learn or change, let's fix this problem. There's got to be a solution. I'll help. Lots of adults.
What I have, first of all, I love it. So if you really do have a solution, and maybe AI can really help us and really gamify it. And obviously, I wouldn't do this show if I didn't think that people could change. I just find that the higher utility way to view myself is as a bat symbol in the sky. And rather than trying to convince the unconvincible, I'm trying to find the people that are just seeking high utility ideas, and that I consider this bi-directional, which hopefully you guys well know. And that if I play an episode from a month ago, if I haven't updated my thinking at all in a month, like that would make me very sad. So always trying to get better, always trying to get wiser, more useful, higher utility. So yeah, bring it. If you've got it, we're here for it.
Nice. That are all the super chats on here. Take it away, Lisa.
All right. So guys, let me know if there's something specific you want me to bring up or talk about. But Tom has a sheet where he just put a bunch of notes that I think you guys did. And I'm like, just reading it. I was like, I want to talk about this. Women get tax breaks for kids, but men don't.
Yeah. What do you think? Good or bad?
I mean, bad. Why? I'm an equal opportunity type of person.
Yep.
So if a father is a single dad, he should get tax breaks. If a woman's a single mom, she should get tax breaks.
Okay. So now think about the perverse incentive of me. I go have sex with somebody and peace out, never talk to him again, but I get my tax breaks?
Oh, well, no, you have to actually be part of the child's life.
In what way?
you have to financially support.
Okay. And who's going to police that?
I mean, I'm sure the government could put in regulations.
Yes, probably just easier, because my initial reaction was, okay, wait a second. There's a reason they made this only for women. Why? What are the perverse incentives when you have it be a guy? Just because for a guy to get somebody pregnant is so easy. So then you have to start putting regulations around it and say, do they qualify for this, that, or the other? Then you have to have an agency that polices whether they qualify for this, that, or the other. Whereas when it's a woman, if you just say a woman has a child, she gets a tax credit, then it's, okay, well, this is easy. Either she does or does not have a child. It is a binary 0 or 1.
Well, would she get tax credits if she wasn't taking care of the child?
That is a very fair question. I would imagine if you look into the law,
that is a dependent question. So whoever claims the kids on the taxes should get the tax break.
Oh.
And just for context, Hungary announced that mothers with one child will be exempt from paying income tax until turning 30. Mothers with 2 or more children will be completely exempt from paying income tax for life. The new policy is an attempt to reverse demographic decline.
Yup.
So they're trying to incentivize people in Hungary to have more babies. So if you have 2 or more babies, no taxes for life. If you have 1 baby, you have no tax until 30. So they're trying to get everybody knocked up.
Yeah, I mean, this is really tough. From what I hear was going on in England, now I'm hearing this through friends and family, not actually doing the research myself. But people are coming in, illegal immigrants are coming into England. They're taking the national health system, they're using it. And it's like every time they add a policy, they just do what the policy needs. So it's like, if you have 2 children or more, so they go and get pregnant, so they can have 2 children. So now they can use the NHS, use the National Health Service. They don't pay taxes. They don't have to do all the rest. And so now people are just looking at what needs to be done, doing it so they can actually take advantage.
Show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. I would expect people in chat to be saying the following. If they're not, let me feed it to you. You probably do want a more deft policy that incentivizes families to be intact. Now, the reality is, though, the thing that they are worried most about, it would seem, given the incentive, is just we need babies. And so what is the minimum thing that you have to do to incentivize more babies? Make sure that women have an incentive to keep the child. But do I think that, from what I know in terms of children being raised well, you want them in a 2-parent household and ideally male-female influence. So it becomes harder to incentivize, but that would be the ultimate, that you would want some sort of societal pressure for couples to stay together, even if it's not legal pressure. Religion has historically played that role. And that way you don't just have kids, you have kids that are also raised well. But man, we really are globally demographically challenged. And so you're going to see people trying to spin up all kinds of policies.
Yeah, so that's where you've got X-Plane actually said, I disagree. Tax breaks for couples also make sense. Tax breaks should be attached to the kids, not the parents. We're incentivizing single parenthood.
Yeah, I think they're probably right. Getting to Drew's point, like whoever's claiming them as dependent on their tax, I'd have to look more closely to see if the headline is just misrepresenting what is actually a more deft policy, or if their policy really is just like, quick, just like women, if you have kids, great. I don't know. And I'd have to understand what they're up against. Like, do they have just like rampant abortion and everybody's saying, well, I got an abortion because I can't afford a child? And so if it is like the problem resides with the women are not wanting to have kids because it does not feel economically viable, it makes sense. But I concede that it does sound better to attach it, whoever's raising the kid, because then like if the mom dies, like dad doesn't get a tax credit, but he's got to raise the kids. Like that's pretty rough. Also, it seems maybe you just can't do it, but obviously this would have to be looked at in more detail. But the thing that strikes me as wiser is to put a policy in place that says the whole family unit gets a tax break. Would you want to give a tax break to kids? Maybe even that, like the money that they earn while they're still under 18 or something, so that you're incentivizing families. I don't know. Would have to think about it. But
it would have to be like people who file married, they get one of the parents is the person makes the lowest amount of money, they are exempt from taxes as long as they are filed together and they're claiming at least one dependent. Like, so I'm sure there's a if this then that kind of thing that ties it all together versus just a blanket. If you're a mom with a kid, you don't pay taxes. Like, I'm projecting that, but I'm hoping that they spent that 2 levels of critical thinking to get that done.
The hard thing I then go into are people now staying in unhappy marriages because of the tax breaks and the incentives.
And I'm guessing this is all the stuff that was happening in the room, which led them to go, fuck it. If a woman has a kid,
we're doing too much. It's getting knocked up.
Because you really do get into a lot of complexities, and as you try to deal with the edge cases, you finally just come back to a really simple policy. But I do get, like, first of all, guys are already in a pretty dark place from, at least in America, the courts side with women like all the time. And so there's a pretty deep imbalance.
And that's what caused the perverse incentive of the welfare state, where there was a man and women who were together, but if I marry you, we get no income, we get no additional benefits, so I have to put on the burden. And at that time, a lot of men were making low wage jobs. It was better for them to not claim that they don't live there. The woman is there by herself. She gets a discounted health insurance, discounted food and groceries with WIC and things like that. So an incentivized single family on paper, at least, even though the male might be there and stuff like that. So you have to be sure how you present it, because bad incentives, bad results.
Yup. Brutal.
All right, if there's anything else in chat, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go to something else in culture that you guys have down here, which is minigun mounted in Teslas.
Oh my God, this is fucking awesome.
What is happening?
You got to check this out. So all these Teslas are being vandalized. And so this guy, this is basically an ad for his custom shop, as far as I could tell. I don't know. This is real. That's actually on the
that's not
car.
all fake.
This is not AI.
I thought that was AI for sure.
This is incredible, Chad. If you're not watching this, so he's got a highly customized Tesla that he's mounted a minigun to. Sheesh. And there's all this slow-mo stuff. And it's basically go ahead, try and deface my car. And it's showing this minigun just fucking shredding drones and all kinds of shit. It is, it's a pretty rad ad. If this guy is click on him for a second, Richard Ryan, if he really is a customizer.
Yeah, Warrior Dog.
But does he actually customize? That is not car customization.
That is not
anyway,
customization.
Certainly a good way to get noticed. I love, when I saw the video, I was like, oh, this guy must do custom Teslas. And he's just showing the absurd place that you can take this. From a marketing perspective, this is genius. Because it's so in the zeitgeist right now and push back. Also, it just really captures the difference between the left and the right. Yeah. The left is all about reputation savaging. It's a very feminine way to go about things. Whereas the right is this hyper masculine fucking mount not just a gun, a minigun. I hate to admit how much I love this, but I love this.
It would have made me laugh. This is a little aggressive for me. It's cute and funny, but
cute? A minigun on a Tesla is cute? I love it. It's got a heart symbol. It's hilarious.
Don't actually hurt anyone. But you know what I was thinking of? You know when in the movies where people, when they rob banks, they have those paint things that when you unzip it, the
dye.
Yeah, the dye. You should have that around Teslas. So it's if someone gets close with a certain technology or something that's going to damage it just
impact on the car. It explodes in them. I like that. It's like glitter bombs from what's that guy's name? Roberson.
Oh God, I can't remember.
Anyway,
they said, YouTuber.
Yeah, so you just
got famous doing glitter bombs.
Yeah, you just glitter bomb people that are trying to damage Teslas.
I have a feeling that would backfire so horrifically that in reality you'd never be able to do it. But it is a great idea. It is a great idea. Filming them would be awesome.
There was a relationship one, which I feel like you guys are
all right. I was trying to do all relationships, but let's go.
Obligated to talk about
hear
this
what Lisa
one.
has to say about
I haven't seen this.
All right, so this is the tweet. To all men, do you agree or disagree? Men will literally choose a shy, polite, soft woman with zero achievements over an arrogant career woman.
I mean, let's just be honest. No one wants to be around someone arrogant. So, yeah, you take away the arrogant, that's a very different statement to me. So,
what word could you replace it with? Would make that a hard choice?
Over a...
So men will literally choose a shy, polite, soft woman with zero achievements over a what? Career woman. That's still positive, but now you're making it about shy and polite, zero achievement versus career.
Driven.
So you don't think that men would choose a driven career?
No. I think that would be accurate. I think it would be accurate. Oh, you're saying what would make it hard? Sorry.
Yeah, what I'm trying to get at is, so you're saying, yeah, look, arrogant obviously makes this easy, and I would agree. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, there's this whole idea of the trad wife.
Yeah.
So you've got a trad wife who wants husband go work, allow me to stay home. Let's really go all the way. Allow me to stay home and raise the kids. But I want you to go off and do your thing. I don't want to talk about politics and all that stuff. Like, I just want to be here with the kids. I'm soft, I'm shy. I'm the achievement that I want my life to be graded on is, P.S., this is Tom Bilyeu speaking, the absolute greatest gift you could give to humanity. And I want to raise children well. So there's that. Then there's the career woman who's amazing. She's bright and she can challenge you intellectually, and but she's off like driving her own career. What would you expect most men to choose?
Oh, I think, what would I think? Of course, men would choose the sweet, polite, demure woman.
Let me make it even harder. We have a son, and he's about to like embark on real life.
Yeah.
He's 21.
Yeah.
What kind of girl do you tell him to look for?
Someone who will love him for him, support him.
In what way?
Emotionally.
Support. Okay. So not financially.
And somebody who doesn't dampen your drive, someone that encourages you. But I wouldn't say someone that wants to stay at home and cook and clean for you and have kids. That wouldn't be my... how do you make that person
Would you tell
feel?
him to avoid that?
No.
Or if she happens to want that?
Yeah, whatever they want.
What if he's like, Mom, I really want to have kids. What kind of woman should I look for?
Somebody who also wants children.
Okay. Should
Nurturing.
there are two, Mom, I've gone on these dates with these two women.
Yeah.
They are equal in every way.
Okay.
They both want children as badly as I do.
Okay.
And I just don't know how to choose. One of them wants to stay home with the kids, and the other wants to balance the kids with her career.
And
Help me,
she's going
Mom.
she's going to be happy in either, as happy. Because if one, she's
Everything I know about both of them, Mom, tells me that they really have their eye on the right prize. So my trad option, she's going to love being a trad wife.
Well, the thing that I would ask my son is, what is the type of person you want to be with? Because there are men that like dominant women. There are men. So not that you like a dominant woman, but let's face it, if I was a total pushover, you wouldn't have gone for me. I remember you saying one of the stories when we were dating where you had told me you wanted pancakes. It was your last day in
This is
London.
hilarious.
True story, guys. Last day in London. And I'm like, you're my boyfriend, anything you want. You're like, I want to go to Hampstead and have those pancakes
Hampstead
again.
Heath, shout out to
So
that
I
pancake
said
stall.
to my friend, hey guys, Tom wants to go to the pancake stall. It closes at 6 p.m. So we have to leave by 5 p.m. If you want to come, come. If you don't have to come. A couple of people are like, we want to come. It's 5 o'clock, it's 5:05, it's 5:10. And I'm like, we got to go. Like, you told me you want. So I turn around and someone's like, wait, I've got to wait for someone. They're in the car. They're like getting out. And I'm like, you're either in or you're out, but I'm leaving right now. Now, I remember you saying, I showed my colors in that moment, that I'm not a pushover, that when I've got a goal, I'm going to get there. And you were impressed by that.
Very.
Okay. So would you say that type of personality is something you're drawn to?
I'm going to force you back to our son.
But this goes back to, so
Yeah.
what is the thing that you're looking for? Because if I was super soft, and now
Let me give you my
let me
answer.
finish. You miss your pancakes
Yeah.
because I'm so soft, and I'm like, oh, but my friend wanted to come with, and you're like, I asked for one thing, I asked for pancakes, and I still don't get it. So in that moment, I was your girlfriend
Yep.
who showed up for you. You said you wanted something, and by golly, I'm going to make it happen. But I'm not soft, sweet, and demure. So I would ask my son, what are you looking for? Because then that will dictate who you go for.
I think love that. You're very clear. I get it. You're not crazy. And I would still let you speak to our son because it's not bad. I don't have to quarantine you, which is good. However, what I would say to our son is, I know you're looking at your mom and you're thinking, my mom's amazing. And I would say your mom is amazing, but your mom was the high risk marriage. And the hardest thing your mom and I went through was when she decided she wanted to be an entrepreneur. And it was like suddenly being married to a different person. If you feel that you can navigate that, you will yield the greatest results from that person because your mom is my equal. And so your mom married across. She didn't marry up. And that has been amazing for me. Having somebody who is my peer on balance, like we're good at different things, but on balance, I feel like you bring 50% of the weight. That's why I've said, I don't know how chat's gonna react to this. If you had a train run on you by a fucking professional football team, I'd still be like, she earned half the shit. So I'd never speak to you again, but I'd be like, yeah, like you have been my equal in every way. So on balance, that's a way better way to say it. We have been each other's equal on balance, but it's the riskier one. And you really have to be playing a high level game because there is psychology to be managed. And if I did not feel powerful around you, it would not be interesting to me. And I would rather marry somebody that made me feel powerful, knowing just how important that is to a guy, even if that means that I have to give up on some of the things that would have pushed me forward. So I would advise, do not marry somebody who, whatever the thing is that you're best at in the world, if they're better than you at that thing, run. That's just real. And there are clearly women that can outpace me on the things that I'm good at. Okay, I'm not gonna marry that woman. So I want you to be good at the things that you're best in the world at. I want you to be better than me, and you are. And the thing that I'm the best in my world, or the best that I can be, I'm better than you at. And if I didn't have that, this would be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this is not the problem with this discussion, but with something like that, it's so binary. And take me, for example, I want to be my own woman. I want to have my own thoughts, my own ideas, be able to set my own boundaries that are good for me. And yet, I love that you're the leader in this relationship. I have zero problem saying that out loud. I don't think that makes me weak. But I think society has a notion that you're either really demure, you're the trad wife, or you're the bitch feminist. It's like one side or the other. But what about the people that aren't like that? What about the women that do want to be independent, but will still support their partner? Society has now got these buckets where you have to be one or the other. And I don't think that's the reality of how a lot of women, at least, I'd love to hear from you, but like a lot of women actually think. And I had a story, I actually interviewed Jay Shetty the other day. And he was saying that one of his friends had went on this date, and he asked all of his friends what they thought of her. And they're like, man, she's going to push you around. Don't do it. That's terrible. You should dump her, like blah, blah, blah. And he just turned around to Jay and he's like, but I actually like a dominant woman. And so now everyone else's opinions on this one guy, whether he should choose her or not, no one actually asked him what he wanted. So that's why, going back to your question, what would I ask, what would I tell our son is, what are you looking for? Because we're making a problem in society right now where it has to be one or the other. But the reason why me and you work is I can be very strong. You can't bulldoze over me, but I admire, respect, and agree that I want you to lead the family. And I don't think that people see that anymore in that way.
I agree.
Oh.
Here's the thing, Drew, I'll aim this at you, and Chad, I'll let you eavesdrop. I used to think that I was the reason that our relationship was as good as it is. I'm just being honest. And then one day it hit me and I was like, holy shit, none of my tools, tactics would work if I had an unreceptive wife who was deft and nuanced and wise. And I was just like, oh shit, I'm giving myself way too much credit for all of this. I can articulate what we do well, but woof, when I really think about the thing that has been the hidden like advantage to our relationship, it's your ability to give grace, to be forgiving, to if I overstep on something, you'll articulate your position and you'll reel me back in. The best example is business hardened me. First it toughened me and then it hardened me. And the hardening has not been advantageous. And the amount of time that you spent trying to get me to understand you have to be able to broadcast and receive love, a lesser woman would have been like, okay, I've had enough. Like, this is just annoying. And the fact that you kept like trying to articulate. Now, admittedly, I'll give myself some credit and be like, I finally got us there in terms of being able to say what the words were, what you were actually trying to convey. But that felt like one of those moments of thank God that you're able to give grace, and thank God that I have an ability to pull an emotion into the conscious mind and name it. And those things together have been the constant interplay of the two of us. And then the one thing, and this is, I always feel weird saying it, but you're a very masculine woman and I'm a very feminine man. And so my journey has been learning to be tougher and more masculine, but thank God I still have traits that are, I'm emotionally intuitive. I can connect to myself. I have an internal awareness of my emotional states, et cetera, things that guys aren't necessarily known for. And you are emotionally stable. And that's why perimenopause has been so shocking, because it's been the first time where your emotions actually will swing. And I'm like, huh? Like, I'm so not used to that. And I want that for other people, but I don't know how to help them identify that. That's tough.
All right, let me jump in here real quick. We got a couple last minute super chats.
Let's
We have to wrap it up. Special thank you to RJ Johnson. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I would only date a very strong, ambitious woman. I would retire to support her to give her the greatest opportunity to succeed and maximize her happiness. Okay, RJ.
Aww.
We see you, RJ.
We see you, RJ. Yolanda Trevino. I'm going to call you Dr. Yolanda. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. If I convince you, an adult, to figure out adults, then it's possible. There are lots, techniques, technologies, and they raise kids and kids grow. Dr. Yolanda, drop it in the Discord. I feel like this conversation is going to keep going. So give us some links and let's keep it keep it going. We'll see you at the next live and we can talk through it. Dubstep Kid 801 said, thank you for your $2 super chat. He said, I want to raise kids and have a rich go-getter wife. I feel you. Be a house husband.
Rich.
Hold it down. I'll hold down the kids, babe. Go have fun. Go be a boss. I'll drive the drop top Maserati minivan. That's cool.
That's very specific.
And that's what I mean. Like, I love that
curly.
these days people have the option.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I think, what's important. Like, I personally love, I've said this so many times, but, you know, one of the biggest things that I was so attracted to with you when I met you is you were so ambitious and you were so driven. And I found that extremely sexy. And I don't expect every woman to. And so, I just think it's important to know what you want, which is why I really respect RJ for just being honest about what he wants.
Yeah.
I'm going to complicate matters. And I know we have more super chats, so I'll keep it very brief.
Last one, yep.
Culture matters. And at some point, we have to decide what software program we are writing to tell people to pass on to their kids. And I think that we've swung so far in the be in touch and whatever, if you're feeling soft, it's okay, boys can cry and all of that stuff, that we forget that you have to impart these ideas. And I do think that we need men to be raised with a masculine ideal. And I was thinking about this. So I traumatized our Pomeranian puppy. Aww. My wife was gone. This is terrible. I feel bad that this is true, but this is true. I took her for a walk. She got scared. So for a whole host of reasons, she couldn't go out of the house and be around other dogs. Doesn't matter why. She couldn't in the beginning. And so now we're finally able to take her out and she gets spooked. And so I was walking her, everything was going fine. And then her leash caught on a road cone. The road cone fell over. Didn't touch her, but it scared her. And so she started acting weird. And so I was trying to dog whisper her and get her back to walking. And I didn't want to pick her up because I wanted her to see that you got to be courageous and keep walking and everything's going to be fine. And that was a terrible strategy. And my poor dog was emotionally traumatized. And we're now having to like slowly introduce her to the outside. And she's getting better and it's all fine and she's healing emotionally very quickly. But nonetheless, it got me thinking that, okay, like, is there higher utility in thinking of her as a little girl and I need to be soft and understand like what she needs right now is gentility? And so as we were walking, I was like, okay, if this were a boy, because the one thing, and hopefully my dad will hear this, my one beef with how my dad raised me was I was so whiny, he gave up on trying to teach me to be tough. And I wish that he had taught me to be tough as a kid so I didn't have to learn it in the far more embarrassing adult life. And I won't have kids, so nobody has to panic if you think that this sounds like a horrible take. But I always thought if I had a son, I would really have to, I would want him to be tough. And I would understand that I have to put him in situations where toughness is celebrated, that he's trying to earn the respect of other people who believe in toughness. I'm actually going on Bedros Keuilian's show in the not too distant future. This is something he does. He brings fathers and sons together to do this hardcore shit, to instill masculinity in the kids. I fucking love it and wish that I'd had more of that when I was a kid. So
But your
I don't
mum,
want people to be draconian.
But your mum definitely supported your emotional side, and
Yes.
yet there was a lot of boys that were brought up that were told not to feel anything, and so while
that is not my pitch. I want to be very clear.
No, I know. That's why I wanted to make it clear that while you didn't have the like get strong, son, there's the other side to it where there are too many men that are draconian to their sons or have been, that then have led to them never tapping into their emotions, never being able to communicate with a woman because they were told their feelings weren't right. They should never own them. They should never feel. And that has caused a lot of, I think, problems in marriages and relationships. So I do think there's again, we don't have kids. So, us giving parenting advice is a little funny. But when I think about having a son, I would nurture both. I would nurture, this is a place that you can feel safe, your emotions are valid, you should be able to talk about them without someone diminishing them, but also you should be able to be tough, be strong, and yeah. So I think it needs
Only thing I would add is I would aggressively teach them you can't just trust your emotions. Just because you're upset doesn't mean you should lean into it. You don't want to suppress it, but you want to ask yourself, is embodying this emotion advantageous? If yes, then do it. But if it's not, don't. And so you do need to process through. You need to figure out why you feel the way that you feel. But you can't just, because you have an emotion, lean into it. And that kids and adults alike derail their own lives by doing that. All right. It is 12 o'clock. Everybody, thank you
Really
guys.
quick, Dan
Oh,
Chat.
wait,
Sorry you missed your super chat.
Let's go.
Just
We got
what's
it.
thoughts on Andrew Cuomo running for NYC mayor? I'm rooting for him. Shout out to Andrew
Where we at
Cuomo.
here?
He was an old governor.
Dan Clark. Andrew Cuomo running for New York City mayor. Was Andrew Cuomo the one that was he having an affair? What was it?
It was like
was it corruption or was it just punch him in the sex?
It was sexual misconduct.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Misconduct? I'm going to need a definition here.
That's why I use misconduct as opposed to
Assault?
as assault is different than misconduct.
Okay.
So I think it's more harassment versus like
Hack?
it's not great. It's not great, and I'm not justifying sexual
I'd
misconduct.
have to look into it to know how I feel, but just as I am sure Trump is guilty of all kind of sexual misconduct, and that didn't rule him out for me as somebody I would vote for. If his policies are good enough and the world knows what his sexual misconduct was, and we all have a chance to debate that out in public and decide if this is somebody that we think can still move forward, sure. On the naked face of it, I'm very open to letting him have a chance as long as everything is just, we're looking at it and we know what's up. But it might be like, I might look at it and go, no, that I'm not here for it. I don't know. I don't know what he did. So
Cool. That's all we got.
all right, everybody. Boy, do I love these. I hope you guys are having fun. Spending time with you guys is amazing. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. And remember, if you're watching this after it's recorded, we do these live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Check YouTube. Every now and then there is a variation on the timing. So check YouTube community. All right, until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Peace.